6 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Shea for the Tennessee Titans, and first-round pick Treylon Burks agreed to terms on a multi-year contract. According to reports, it is a 4-year deal worth over $14 million, fully guaranteed with a 5th-year team option. NBA playoffs, the Heat defeated the Celtics 118-107. Jimmy Butler scored 41 for the Heat as Miami outscored Boston 39-14 in the third quarter. Dallas at Golden State tonight, 8 p.m. for the tip-off in that Western Conference Final, Game 1. To the NHL, Lightning defeated the Panthers 4-1. Avs over the Blues 3-2 in overtime. Tonight, Rangers at Hurricanes, 6 o'clock puck drop for that. And then the Battle of Alberta begins. Oilers at the Flames, 8:30 will be puck drop for that one. Major League Baseball, Braves defeated the Brewers 3-0. Marcell Ozuna hit a 2-run homer for the Bravos. And the Sounds beat Louisville 4-3. First pitch tonight, 6:35 at First Horizon Park. Ron Slay will be throwing out the first pitch. Our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. Our names RJ, Martin, Ramon, and Schaefer. Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors right here in Nashville. With you for the next 4 hours here on this Wednesday. Guests as follows: Andy Staples of The Athletic, 8:20. Joel Corry will join us in the final hour and talk some free agency, some contracts. Treylon Burks deal is pretty standard rookie contract, but it's good to always good to see your first rounder get inked, and it didn't take very long. May the 17th got it done. Inky Johnson will join us for some midweek motivation at the end of the program. Well, tale of two halves last night. Jimmy Butler in the third quarter just said, "Get on my back. I'm gonna go ahead and carry all of the first one." If you read the article afterwards, him and Spoelstra was it drives him nuts sometimes what Jimmy Butler does because he takes risks.
Yeah.
But when they work, it's fine. Butler's like, yeah, he don't like it when I do it. And when it doesn't work, he'll shoot me a look. And I'll shoot him one back like, yeah, I know. But he took 2 gambles on steals. They both paid off, stepped in front of Tatum.
Yep.
And that was part of his 19 and a quarter or whatever.
Yeah.
He just – that's why you get that guy. And you have to wonder – every time you see this, how mad is Joel Embiid that they picked Tobias Harris and not Jimmy Butler a few years ago? Because if you have Jimmy Butler, there's a good chance you win a championship.
At least as far as being a tone setter. That's one thing I saw from him. Like, tone setters, I feel like always is used in football, but the way Jimmy plays is really bully ball. It's really just he stalks. You know what I'm saying? Watching him last night, I was just like, this dude just doesn't. He doesn't lay down, number one, was what you want in general, but the fact that the way he attacks you, and not just that, the smarts of it, stealing the ball, going underneath the rim, and making you foul him. Like, you're going to foul Jimmy Butler. And that's what he did. What was he, 17 for 18 last night from the free throw line? He just straight up bodies people, man. And it's really good to watch him command that team kind of the way Giannis did with Milwaukee last year. You know, it's just like, well, let me drag y'all with me. And Jimmy's doing a real good job of having that day in and day out, every game day, man. It's pretty cool to watch.
He was a plus 25 on the floor. Vincent was a plus 23. Tatum was excellent in the game, even though he ended up a -8. Well, I should say he was excellent in the first half. The second half, they did a decent job on him, but it just started going Miami's way. And that right there is what we talked about and why the Suns' loss was so bad. Role players show up at home in the playoffs. Grant Williams had 7 points last night.
Yeah.
He had the first 3 of the game. He had a lay-in and I think another jumper. No, he had 2 free throws late in the game. He was out of the game a good bit of it felt like, but he ended up playing 35 minutes. So he played a good bit down the stretch. But you look at this: Vincent 17, Struce 11, Tyler Hero 18, a +5 out there.
Yeah.
Bam with 10. But you had some of the others show up at home to go along with a stud performance that you expect anywhere in the world from Jimmy Butler. And that's enough.
Yep.
That is often enough. This game was 62-54 at half.
Crazy.
And then it was a 39-14 third quarter.
Was it 20
in favor of Miami?
22-2 to start the quarter, 22-4, whatever it was.
It was nuts.
It's like, how y'all let them walk you down? Like, you couldn't stop the nosebleed at all. Like, this is what we're into, and it wasn't a situation where it was just home crowd, anything like that. They just straight up came out and bodied them. They let them coast to bring it within winning range, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They took over.
And at the same time, you had a couple guys missing. Obviously, Horford missed, and he's going to miss game 2 as well. And Marcus Smart's out as well, and that's a big. I would have liked to have seen him and Jimmy because that probably gets chippy.
Yeah.
You would think. But not having Marcus means you don't have your defensive guy.
Yeah.
You don't have your real defensive leader on the floor, defensive player of the year in the league. And you don't have Horford, who actually had a pretty good series in Milwaukee. Still, you had an 8-point lead at the half.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like anybody could guard Tatum. And then in the second half, it just
this candy took, too.
It was 3 guys that did a lot, and then Pritchard ended up with 18 points. But a lot of that came late for them because they were down almost 20 at one point, ended up losing the game 118-107. So Miami takes a 1-0 lead tonight in Golden State. It'll be Luka against the Warriors. And I'm looking forward to watching that one, too. I need these games. I know they don't care. If you're playing on the East Coast, it's the Eastern Conference Finals. Can we not get this thing started by 7:30 Eastern?
Eastern, yeah, I'm with you. I'm fully because West Coast really care about their teams anyway. You know what I'm saying? But the coolest thing about watching the Miami games is watching Pat Riley, man. When they do the cutaways of him, very mafioso type. I'm like, what is he thinking? How did he put this together? Why are you in this position? He's by far one of the coolest dudes in NBA stands I've seen in a very long time, man.
You add that to the fact that Spoelstra is now, he was honored as one of the 15 best coaches in NBA history. People forget and don't understand. He's the best coach in basketball.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Popovich, since Kawhi left,
it's been Spoelstra.
It's been. I mean, since Kawhi left San Antonio, there's been nothing to write home about there. Spoelstra's been the best coach. It just took him a while to earn any credit because of the LeBron D-Wade
effect.
But if that's the case, then Phil should never get any credit.
Because Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, and then
Shaq,
everybody
Kobe.
else. Shaq, Kobe, yeah.
He has 11 rings, but if you're going to knock Spo, then you better knock Phil because it's basically the same thing. But Spoelstra, since that point, he gets the most out of everybody he coaches. Doesn't seem like a whole lot of people bristle at him.
No.
He seems to just get it done. That's the dude who used to be a videotape assistant. That's now one of the 15 best coaches in NBA history, according to the league. And certainly according to me, but according to the league.
That's what's so interesting about, coaches. I know a lot of guys go at coaches, well, he didn't play the game. He didn't. Sometimes it's all right to look outside the box. There's some guys that work their way up from film guy to understanding the business and relationships. And it seems like Spoelstra has done a very good job of that. Since LeBron now. You know what I'm saying? Like Miami has been very much relevant since them, and he's had a big part in that. I mean, bringing Jimmy Butler in to do what they've done so far. It's not like they're just in the playoffs. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals.
And they were in the NBA Finals 2 years ago in the bubble, if you want to.
Yeah, well, yeah, 100%, man. So they've done their thing, man. But this is the other part, too, of that game last night. Looking at the stat line, Tatum with 7 turnovers. He was getting picked last night, like beyond anything, and getting frustrated at that.
Butler was clearly trying to irritate him by stealing the ball. Like he was going to risk, he was going the Marcus Peters route.
Yeah.
He was going to put himself in a spot where Tatum would be wide open.
Yep.
But he did it twice in the third. Both times it worked, led to transition buckets on the other side, and it just kind of broke. All of a sudden, Celtics looked like they were in rhythm. And I'm sitting there watching the first half, like, that's a really good basketball team. It's well put together. It's well coached. Adoba's really good. Everything's working here. Then in the third quarter, Jimmy Butler became the fly in the ointment.
Yeah, he did.
And then everybody came. They stayed just close enough in the first half to where they can make a difference early if they just came out firing in the third, and that's what they did.
I just couldn't figure, and I know the game. Basketball, you can coast a little bit more because the athletic aspect of it is always going to take over when it comes down to guys just doing what they do best. And the fact that, like you said, Boston, they were without two of their key players when you look at it. And you had guys like Jaylen Brown trying to do his thing, just couldn't find a way through. And again, when you leave Tatum out there all by his lonesome, this is what's going to happen. Jimmy and they have a team, and I'm not sure if Boston going to be able to split one at home with them if they playing like this.
Felt like usually game one's the easiest one to get for a road team.
Yeah.
And they were on path to doing just that, even shorthanded. And that was going to be a pretty big shot into the bow of Miami.
Yep.
But didn't end up that way.
And I know Boston's not a soft team. I know this is, if you add in Marcus Smart, you add in Horford, you really got a fight. But last night, to me, it seemed like that Miami was just in a point to where they just bullied them out of the win. You know what I'm saying?
Like they did. They took it from them.
They took it from them. I mean, you need those attitude guys like Marcus Smart. You need those guys to be able to back you up when Tatum is honestly, let's just say, getting bullied. Like, he get knocked to the ground and everything. And when he got it picked at half court, forget who was it that ended up getting the ball out of him. May have been, I don't know who it was. But it just in general, when he got picked at half court, Tatum, he falls on him. Grant tries to walk over and pick him up, and he just whooshes just Grant off of him like, oh, well, he's more than frustrated. And he's got nobody to retaliate with him in this setting on the road. So they were bound to lose. There was no way they was going to catch up after dropping 22-4 or 22-2 to start off the third quarter. It just wasn't going to be a way last night.
No, and then once you got the lead and it's 96-78.
Yeah.
They'd make a little bit of a run, but you kept it beyond 1 arm's length. It's about 1.5 arms. And you're going to need more contributions from some of the others if you're Boston, if you want to get it done in game 2. But they'll come out desperate.
Yep.
Even in a 1-0 series. They don't want to go back home down 0-2, even though that's expected. Series doesn't start till somebody loses on the road,
right,
all that kind of stuff. But they're going to be playing hard. There's no question about that. And tonight, of course, Golden State and Dallas.
Yeah.
Now we find out just what one superstar can do against a team with championship pedigree.
Well, they sent off Porzingis as far as Dallas. I'm trying to figure out, is it that they're just okay with it being the Luka show as far as one superstar? You know what I'm saying?
I just don't know that he was the right fit.
Porzingis?
Yeah. I don't think Luka is going to he's going to bristle with the idea of playing with another star because you can look around the league and no one is not doing that. At least he needs somebody else.
A very strong 2.
Well, I don't know if he needs he didn't need a 40-point scorer.
Yeah.
He needs a tough, defensive, Scottie Pippen type too.
Yeah.
More so than a CJ McCollum or somebody like that. But everybody in the league, you can point to it. There's nobody in the league that doesn't have a number 2 that's still playing.
Yeah.
Jimmy's probably the closest.
That's what I was going to say. Miami probably is, but they got one of the best coaches in the world. You said top 15, right? I mean, so that pretty much equates for a good bit of what's going on there. So, I don't know. This one's going to be interesting. They're either going to get run out of it. I just can't see it being close.
My head tells me the Warriors are going to win the series, and they're going to win it in 5. But I also thought Phoenix was going to beat Dallas.
Yeah.
So
that's until
what had happened was 615-737-1045, 737-1045. All the columns are being written now. Here's your football power index. Here's your 1 to 32. Here's the quarterback tiers are out of Pro Football Focus. I have not looked at this yet. I'm afraid to.
No,
you want to know if I need to put the police tape in
the grouping is
around
good.
it.
I honestly do think it's fair. I got a bone to pick too with networks real quick.
With networks?
Not networks, but just writers of articles. It was the signing of the Titans wide receiver yesterday. The wording of the way they do stuff is just petty. It's catty. Treylon Burks.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it on the other side. I'm very curious. I have no idea what you're talking about.
You'll see it whenever we get back.
Jay Martin on 104.5 The Zone. One of the things I love most about Genesis Diamonds is the fact that they're always bringing in fresh jewelry, new diamonds. You're never going to see the same old when you walk into Genesis. When it comes to diamonds, they're always bringing in new fresh cut stones straight from the world's best diamond cutters in every size you can imagine, including those larger rare diamonds, even 10 carats. And then designer jewelry, all the top designers from New York, Los Angeles, Henry Dossi to Corry, Viraggio, all of it. They're on the cutting edge when it comes to what's in style, what's hot, what's new and different. The stuff you see in Genesis, you're just not going to see anywhere else. That's guaranteed. So it's a constantly moving, constantly changing inventory. They've always got new selections. That's just another reason Genesis is dominating the jewelry scene here, and it's why people are driving for hours to be able to shop at this amazing store. It's why I'm never going to go anywhere else. They've got it all. Huge selection, uncompromising quality, unbeatable value, ironclad warranties, white glove customer service from non-commissioned salespeople, which to me is still the number one thing there. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes too now continuously voted the best jewelry store and the best place to buy an engagement ring. Either location, they're going to set you up right. That's Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
to Jimmy. Pritchett's the only one who can stop him, and he can't do it. 41 points for Jimmy Butler.
J. Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Did you see Tyler Hero in the postgame?
I didn't see
what he was
Tyler.
wearing. You should see the video. It broke Bam in the middle of an answer. He just stops because Tyler comes in without sleeves, sunglasses, and a hat. And Bam just starts laughing at him and then rolls his sleeves up.
Of course.
All fun and games after you win game one.
As it should be, man.
Yep. That's 2 Kentucky guys.
Kentucky guys.
All right, man. I because I have no idea where you're going with this. I want to hear the bone that you have to pick because I just don't know.
And it's a light bone because it's still the off season, man.
Oh,
but
it's got to be a light bone.
Hey, where you
Phrasing?
find this?
It's golden honey.
God,
It's a golden honey bone.
is that the name of this song?
No, I don't know. I like the beat though.
Oh, what was,
Chance the Rapper.
was it?
Is it old?
How did?
Well, I mean, I don't know how new
I
his
don't know
newest
enough
one
about
is.
the Chase to be able Chance to
Colin
be able
Brooks,
to
the
answer
last
that.
one I really messed with.
Me too. I was listening to somebody do speaking of, we're about to go off the rails real quick. I heard somebody do a pod about Chance and his career. I always like listen to music, pods and stuff like that. And somebody was like, Chance may not be able to get back into music. It's like, why? It's like, because Kanye grabbed everything that he did and took it and did it better. And he got the bigger name, and Chance is pretty much now, at least for a little extended while, is going to be a ghostwriter for Kanye. It's like the whole gospel, the chorus, the crowd, and everything that he does. You look at it, he's like, yeah, Kanye kind of took that. But he falls.
I like all of Chance's stuff better than Donda.
I know.
Donda just was not. Didn't do it for me.
No, they were just like, Chance don't stand a chance with being under Kanye's umbrella right now. But you'll appreciate this point I'm
looking forward to it.
Yesterday, Treylon signs, right?
Yeah.
On NFL.com, it has first round signings. Instead of saying Burks signs with the Titans, it says Titans Inc. Brown replacement. And I'm like, I know we said we were going to be on the train of making sure that he gets a fair shake. But I'm like, the headlines that surround this guy and also the Malik stuff too, is kind of just like, give him a fair shake first before we get to that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know the trade was because of AJ and all those types of things, but this kid has already come out and said, I don't want to be AJ's replacement. I want to be the first Treylon Burks. And that's the one thing that's kind of irked me as of late when it comes to the way he's being reported. And not even the expectations. Hell, he's a freaking first rounder already. He's already got to go do what he's got to do. But even the NFL.com, Titans Inc. Brown replacement. I'm like, get this guy a shot. Why can't it be like everybody else? Lions signed first round a draft pick. Jag signed Inc. their first round draft pick. Everybody else has said something similar. But when it comes to Treylon, it's like, dude, let him walk into his own career instead of chasing AJ. That's one thing I'm going to consistently push back on, Jay. I don't care if he's a bust or whatever. He's got to be the first Treylon Burks to come out of the Tennessee Titans organization. We can't continue to chase AJ on this one. I don't like the way that the NFL.com posted that little, article.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That was just my little pet peeve. I got to get this off right here.
The newest pick is whatever the headline becomes there because it's a tracker. It's not just there's no article there about Treylon Burks. But the reality is, because I tend to agree with that, but this is how it's going to be every time he's talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I know what he wants.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to preach about giving him his fair shake. But the AJ comparison is going to be with him probably forever.
Yeah.
It just is. And it's unfortunate, but that's the situation he was drafted into. And he can, at some point, and I'm sure he will, like he said, hey, I don't want to be compared to AJ. He probably needs to let it go because it's going to continue to happen. Now you just got to go play football.
Yeah.
And if you're good, the comparisons will get smaller. And the story will just be Titans Took a gamble and it paid off.
See, here we go, right? Just even from the fan base, I'm sitting in here. Yeah, seeing the inhaler for the first time was definitely eye-opening. Like, you see what I was saying about the article the other day? Like, it is small stuff, and I think these are jokes for sure. But it's just, and it's a story. It is a story, Jason, about the inhaler and now finished practices and stuff like that. But I'm just like, all of this is irrelevant until the season starts anyhow. You know?
Well, unfortunately for Treylon, this is happening in May when there's nothing
It's
else.
low. Yeah.
And you're the first-round draft pick, and if you don't finish practice, then that's a story, even if there's no inhaler to attach to it.
It is, man.
It's just like I said, he's in a spot right now that I would not envy. I don't.
No.
I like the money.
Love it.
But the pressure and the expectation and those fans that believe there's still a championship window, they're counting on you.
Uh-huh.
And it's an unfair spot to place you in.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot. You're going to have to be pretty
Tough
thick-skinned.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be a little reptilish to get through it.
I'm talking about Michael Vick.
Yeah, full-on
reptilish.
reptilish.
And mind you, I saw that guy use the thickest lotion, Jay, in our locker room. I used to be watching Vic. It's two things he always had, lotion and chapstick.
Chapstick is my all the time.
You got to
I
have
have 5 in my pocket. It's not out of bounds.
Yeah, but I saw that and I was just like, he just ain't going to get a fair shake. And you know what, man? I hope he embraces this journey he's about to go on and crushes it. You know, like, it's going to be some ups and downs of it all. I mean, think about what happened last year with Jamar Chase. I mean, before he played the Titans, everybody was, what's going on with Jamar Chase? He can't catch the ball. He said the ball size is too big for him. And you remember all those articles, and the legend was born right after that. So I guess everybody's going to have to deal with that, especially with as much popularity wide receivers are having these days too. So I ain't mad at it, but I'm just like, there's another one. You know what I'm saying? Just, yeah.
For real, I'll be real reptilish.
Yep. That was Vic with us in our first year. PFS quarterback tiers. It's sort of weird how they do it. They didn't rank them.
You ready for this?
They put them in groups based on certain statistics.
Kind of funny, too.
I actually like how they did that.
I sort of do, except it's not really. It's just kind of, you have to understand that they're not even ranking quarterbacks against everybody else. They're only ranking them based on that tier. So there's the Golden Oldies tier, which is post-30 elite level guys. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russ, Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan. Whoops. But Matt Ryan's last on that list. He's the there's only 5 that are in that category. Shooting stars, best under the age of 30. Mahomes, Allen, 1 and 2, Herbert, Burrow, Jackson.
Hold on, real quick. Let's go back to the Matt Ryan one. They call this category what again? Tier
Golden
A,
Oldies.
Golden Oldies. So they really think the Colts got better also.
Well, no. Again, they're doing this based on his age. They're only ranking him against the other 4 guys in that tier.
Over 30. Okay, he's 5 out of that group.
So it's so he's last on that list.
That's fair.
I do think they think the Colts have gotten better to that point.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily want to, overlook that. I just
listen
wanted
to
to.
Stafford's highest grade is 86.1. He is ascending while Ryan might be descending. Stafford projects to be barely above Matt Ryan. So they do like Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
that's obvious.
That's what I was getting at right there.
But he's still last in that 5. And he's not being ranked against Mahomes, Allen, all those guys.
That's the Colts.
Yeah,
Shooting stars, best under 30. Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow, Jackson in that order.
A lot of people are looking at Baltimore and saying this is going to be a way different year. The injury bug got them last year. And I give it credit for that, 100%. I just want to see what Lamar, Greg Roman, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is a passing game going to like? Does Baltimore need a passing game? As much as we say they need one, the Titans pretty much say screw it too, in the sense of who is it leading? Baltimore, Indy, and the Titans as far as run games in the NFL. So it works. Those 2 teams have been above the line as far as performing. I know Baltimore and the Colts didn't make the playoffs last year, but
you got to keep Lamar healthy. If you're going to run, he better be healthy.
And
I don't know how many of these hits he can keep taking because last year he started to crumble.
Yeah.
Physically, he started to crumble.
Yeah.
Mixed bag is tier C. There's only 3 guys, the most polarizing players. I'm actually surprised Tannehill's not in this one. but it just, again, shows nationally there's nothing polarizing. Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr. Carr is the only one where it's like, Carr really shouldn't be polarizing anymore, to me.
Why is that?
Because I think he's shown that he's at least pretty good.
And he just got the new deal, too. I think the way he miscategorized him then, if that's the case. Because it's clear that Vegas is like, well, he's our guy. You know what I'm saying? He went out and got another bag this offseason. They went and got him the wide receiver that he wanted. He's already got some guys that's under his umbrella that's going to be pretty good anyway. Waller, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's got some really good tools there. And their defense should be very, very good this year.
The descriptor of mixed bag is half the earth believes that player is elite, the other half believes opposites. And I'll take that way. So, yeah, I agree with Derek Carr being there, too. And Tannehill wouldn't be because no one believes he's elite. If you go by that being the way that category is stacked up.
Yeah.
Dak, some people believe is real good. Some people believe he's kind of average. Mm-hmm. Kyler, we know the red flags there and the way he is simultaneously praised and dinged. And Derek Carr.
In that group, I wouldn't put Derek Carr in this group. I'd also put him number one if he's got to be in this group, though. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he's probably the better of the three when it comes down to it. Dak, to me.
Well, he's been the most consistent according to PFF stats. So that's why they have him first.
Derek Carr definitely ain't a shooting star.
No. I mean, I think Derek Carr would be number one on my list of those.
See, for me,
now.
Kyler's excitement of what he can bring to the game, I think could have put him in that shooting star category. But his attitude, I ain't going to say even his attitude, because everybody has a certain amount of power they just choose to use when they can. And that's what he's doing in this situation as far as his contract goes. But I will say I think Tyler is probably closer to the shooting star, maybe a number 6 on that list, than he is mixed bag, though, to me.
I could see it. I guess it's, again, if half the country or half the sports watching public thinks he's all-time great and the other half believes the opposite, I think he would fit there.
Yeah.
But I think you could, well, no, I guess you couldn't. I would have said Lamar might have been close to that too. But I think at this point, I would put him in the shooting stars.
Yeah, Lamar's already got the MVP though, right? So he can't be in that group.
Play action merchants is tier D, propped up by scheme. 4 guys. Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jared Goff are 2, 3, and 4. Tannehill's number 1. Boy, that's not a great list. But that's who if we compare Tannehill to most? Probably Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And then I had Alex Smith.
And Alex Smith, yep.
Since Tannehill joined the Titans in 2019, became a play action merchant, his whatever that stat is, wins above replacement, I guess, per season is better than Cousins. He gets the nod, but the case can be made for either of them.
Call this man a play action merchant.
Propped up by the scheme is what it means.
Propped up by the scheme. Is he? Have we seen him will and deal and take over a game?
Not much.
Not much.
I mean, he's had a lot of comebacks, but I've never felt like Ryan Tannehill took this game over.
Golly. Is it necessary, or it's just that you can't beat the scheme in which the Titans are running right now?
I don't know that it's necessary, but it definitely, like, you've seen games where it looked like Mahomes took it over.
I would say it is
Josh
necessary.
Allen or Burrow or somebody like that that's willed them into a situation.
I'd almost jump out and say they need to let go of the reins with him. Like, put him out there in the fire. He's old enough. He's got enough experience. He can throw the ball. I almost want to say hands off with Tannehill. Let him go win you games. And I say this for 2 different reasons. One, Derek and the carries. I just don't know if we got to continue doing this. And I think if you switch up the game, you can almost offset the NFL in the sense to where, we got to find a different game plan for Derrick Henry for Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. If you go out and say they're winning games because of Ryan Tannehill, I think it changes the entire outlook of this team.
I agree. I just don't think he can.
Again, he's old enough. He's had enough experience. He knows how to read defenses from a quarterback position and a wide receiver position because he's played both. At least in college he's done it. He's 10-plus years in. I just can't see him being incompetent enough to where he can't. You want to tell me that Kyler Murray is better at breaking down defenses than he is? You want to tell me that Derek Carr is better at breaking down defenses than he is? Like a young Justin Herbert is better than Ryan Tannehill breaking down defenses? Because if that's true, then we got a bigger issue at quarterback than we actually thought we had. Like if you can't put roll the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hand or toss it into his hands and say, hey, Ryan, go win us the game, then you got a way bigger issue at quarterback, and maybe you are looking over his shoulder to go get his replacement sooner than later.
Well, you already have.
But we're still 2 years away from that, and we're still talking about a team trying to win the AFC South and make it deep into the playoffs. If that's the aspirations for this team.
I'll just ask you point blank. Can Tannehill win you a Super Bowl?
Well, I'll say this. The shock value of him winning a game? Possibly.
What does that mean? What does the shock value of him winning a game mean?
If you let him mature throughout the season and throw the ball and control the offenses, I think he can get you very close to the ship. And if this defense is what it was last year.
If the running game is nothing.
The running game has to be something because historically it's been proven that it's going to be good. Even last year without Derrick Henry, it was still damn good. Even in 2020, it was still pretty good. 2019, it was still pretty good. That, I think, is going to be consistently a thing for the Titans, is the offensive running game is going to be there. Now, if you put the ball in Ryan's hand more often, if they do that, with the addition of Tim Kelly and you having Todd Downing behind up top calling plays in his second year, then I think this offense can blossom into something more than it has been. And if you get what we've always said, that 2020 Tennessee Titans offense with the 2021 defense, then you got a really good team.
Well, and what was the biggest thing with that offense?
Arthur. It was
not
Arthur.
just that. Play action. The play action has to work.
Which is the point of Tier D.
I know.
He's a play action merchant. That's what he does.
But do y'all see what I'm saying as far as just pick a game? Let him see if he can do it. Who's a weaker opponent this year on this team?
I just think the fact that you're setting it up that way
I know, man.
shows you don't really believe he can do this either.
But I say this, at least from our perspective of covering this team and also just, I say pander to the crowd a little bit to see if he can do it. I'd almost ask you to, God, dog.
But you're going to game plan to win the game because you're going up against the Colts in the division. You're probably not going to get a wild card because of the strength of the AFC.
You can do it in the NBA when you have 82 games. You can actually have those experiments. But when you got 17, I don't mean 17-10. I mean 17 games.
This is what we're saying, Mo.
But you see where I'm coming from, though, right?
I know what you want to be true.
You know what?
But this guy's not ever going to be a Josh Allen type quarterback.
So what are we doing here?
You know what you're doing. You're placeholding. You're placeholding with a guy that can win you games and potentially get you to the playoffs. But once he gets there, you have no confidence in that.
I'm like hands on head right now, frustrated with not y'all conversation, our conversation of why we can't have nice things. You feel me? Like, this is lightly frustrating now that we're discussing that we can't go do that. What you mean we can't? This guy's an NFL quarterback.
There's a lot of teams that have quarterbacks that can't do that.
But this guy's been in this system for years now. He actually beat out a guy and shipped him out of town. He got paid to be QB1. He's been supported by a run game and a defense and a coaching staff and front office that says you are the guy. But clearly, if we continue to pour water over the tea leaves, it's going to read that he's not.
It's just going to read, it's doubtful. That's probably what it's going to read. Paxton, if you hang on, we'll get to your phone call. I know what you're wanting to say.
I didn't realize we was over right there. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to break. We'll come back. Yeah, we got into it a little bit there in terms of trying to figure out. But again, that's where you're always going to find Tannehill's writing a list with Garoppolo, writing a list with guys like that.
And Garoppolo nearly won a Super Bowl.
Correct. Now, on a team that ran the ball and played defense.
Well, and that's what this team is going to try to do.
But that
I ain't
wasn't on
saying
Jimmy
y'all
G.
wrong. I'm just trying to make we'll get to more of it. Yeah.
It's Jay Martin on 104.5 The Zone.
Life happens fast. Sometimes you can plan on those life-changing moments are going to happen, but most times you just don't know. OpenDoor can meet you wherever and whenever you need them. Did you just land the dream job that is moving you across the country? Did you just have a new baby, or are you upsizing or downsizing the house that you're in? When life's doors open, OpenDoor will handle the house. OpenDoor can help you avoid having to worry about finding transitional housing or paying a double mortgage. You can do what hundreds of thousands of people have already done. Request an offer through OpenDoor. It's that simple. Go to opendoor.com and enter your address. Tell them a little bit about your house, and you'll get an offer back in minutes. OpenDoor looks at your house, the surrounding market, and gives you a real competitive offer. You don't have to make the repairs, do prep work, or schedule showings. You can choose your closing date and move on your schedule. Go get your free offer at opendoor.com/WGFX. That's opendoor.com/WGFX. Life is full of opportunities. Selling a house shouldn't keep you from them. Sell to OpenDoor. That's opendoor.com/WGFX. And offer eligibility varies, and OpenDoor is represented by OpenDoor Brokerage, Inc. License 02061130 in California, OpenDoor Brokerage, LLC, and its other markets.
J. Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. At 6:49. Jonathan Schaefer along with Ramon Foster. Jason Martin said he had to take a break during the break. He's not back from that. But who's going to join us now? Cousin Paxton is on line one.
What's up, P?
What's up, man?
Hey guys, what's going on? What's going on? So I had something to say to Jason. He's not even here, man. Apparently he can read, and Shay told me that. I thought Abby read for him, but
he's getting back to the desk right now.
He hear you now.
Oh man, Jason, I didn't know, man. I thought Abby did all your reading for you, brother. I didn't know, man.
That's just the foot, Paxton.
If she wants to, she can.
I bet, man. Super smart lady, I'm sure. But y'all mentioned something a little bit earlier, but one thing I'm getting sick of in this entire discussion is, national media picking the Colts to win the division every year. I mean, you all are all intelligent men. What is the definition of insanity? What is it?
We're on the same thing over and over.
And expecting different results, man. What are we doing here? I'm so sick of seeing these people pick the Colts every year and then make excuses for why the Titans are winning games. Nobody knows why the Titans are winning games. We're winning games because we're winning games. So I'm sick of that. As far as Ryan Tannehill, I am interested to see this year his mental state. I know he had mentioned in press conferences recently that, he went through a period of depression and things like that. So I'm curious to see how he picks himself up, knowing that there's a future quarterback here at Tennessee breathing down his neck, knowing how the fan base is kind of split between if they believe in Tannehill and if they don't. So my prediction for Tannehill is he's either going to have a complete monster season or he's going to be a quarterback 2 by week 8. It's going to be one of the two. It's not a middle ground. So I'll hang up and listen, but that's just my prediction. And Titans win the division again. We run the South.
All right, Pax.
Can I do one thing with Malik Willis that we've done with Treylon Burks? Can we temper expectations?
Why are you calling him Malik?
Did I call him Malik?
You've done that
Have I done
for
that?
days this week.
I'm
and
sorry.
I'm trying to figure out if I got it right. It's Malik.
Malik, I'm sorry. I don't know why I've been doing that. Malik.
You've heard it too, right, Moan? This wasn't the first time. That's why I was like,
sooner then.
Because I thought we missed something. So
I screw up sometimes too.
Well, I was afraid of that, and then I heard you say it a few days ago, and I was like,
I ain't going against the Schaefer, man.
No, I screw up.
Look,
I'm
man,
just gonna say
John
Willis.
McCain called him Barack once. He meant to say
happens.
Barack.
I'm not going to feel bad about it. I screwed up. So what? My point to that is, all right, we're moving on. My point to that is, can we also temper expectations with him when we've had Jimmy White even mention this is likely a player who may not dress at times this season for the team and that he is a longer-term project and people are already wanting to put Tannehill on the bench in week 6, 8, 12, 17.
I agree.
If we're going to do it with the
yourself
one, we have
not
to do it with
see
the
him
other.
this year.
Yeah, man.
Agreed. So I want to throw a theory out to you that I came to over the last 5 minutes or so.
You had plenty of time to think.
Definitely did. This company needs to spring for better toilet paper, man. Anyway.
I now don't have to use this reference.
I'm just kidding. I've mentioned this before, but not to this degree. Quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm going to start calling this the 85-10-5 rule.
Okay. Like relationships.
If you make the league, I expect you to make 85% of the plays. And I feel like most NFL quarterbacks can make 85% of the throws. They can make 85% of the plays.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another tier above that. They can make 10% more. They can make up to about 95%. They can make almost every play that's open for them.
Right.
And then there's the special dudes that can make the other 5%. They can will it because they're winners. Or they have some kind of elite trait.
Yeah.
Whether it's Lamar's speed or Russ's arm or whatever it is that makes them special. Ben's durability and his ability to wing it on
Brady's
one leg.
Preciseness.
Brady being precise. And just his intangible stuff.
Yeah.
That 5% is what every team in the league is always going to be looking for.
Yep.
Tannehill is clearly in the 85 club.
Mm-hmm.
He's between the 85 and the 95 club. He can make most of the plays that you ask him to make. But how many bad throws, how many bad decisions does Jimmy Garoppolo make in a football game? Not a lot, but he makes a couple more than other guys do. Or you get to a Super Bowl and he overthrows Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
And it's the difference in, this is where I've said this before. It's, 3 to 5 plays a game that separates you from being good or being elite.
Yeah.
Or good to great to elite, all of that kind of thing. It's those 5 plays I don't know that 17 has in his arsenal. The rest of it, I think he has. But that special something or the opportunity, and sometimes that 5% is not making the bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened in the playoff game. And I also think at times he's close. He's even closer to that 95 to 100 range in the regular season.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, you just haven't seen it yet. So that's what I'm going to look at is the 85-10-5 rule going forward. You're always looking for the one that can get you that extra 5. That 3 to 5 plays, that special something when you have to have it that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Jimmy Butler last night.
Yeah.
That 5%.
5%.
Luka on Sunday. That 5%.
I don't know. I want to talk more about it because I still just don't. I don't know. It's frustrating to me. And I guess you guys know why, because I've seen somebody perform a certain way and just take over. And I'm just like, well, I know what you just said. You're an NFL quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got the break coming up.
All right. Headlines. We'll come back. We will continue talking about this. Again, Andy Staples will join us in the third hour. Joel Corry, sports agent, works with CBS, former sports agent. We'll talk to him about some of these rookie deals as well as some of the other things going on. Juice Landry and that contract.
Yeah.
And Inky Johnson, Midweek Motivation. A lot to get to. Jay Martin on 104.5 The Zone.
Malik.
It's Window Nation's graduation sale. So if your old windows are failing or just not making the grade, here's your homework assignment. Call Window Nation and get to the head of the class with 0% financing for 5 full years. That's 60 months. And the coolest part is for every 2 windows you buy, you get 2 windows free for however many you need, Jay. So that big house of yours, man, I think you got like 80 windows in it?
That's right. No, stop. Stop. By the way, the coolest part. No, the coolest part is your home when your windows are actually sealed up properly.
There we go.
So that's why this matters. It's going to be super hot, super humid. You've seen the forecast for the rest of the week. Today's going to be a little bit more temperate. Might even get a little rain, and of course you don't want that rain getting in your windows either. But caulk cracking, seal failures, condensation, mold growing, and energy costs that are exorbitant. All of that means you need to contact Window Nation. When they're offering something like this, you got to take advantage. 2 free windows every 2 you buy. No interest for 60 months. That's 5 full years interest free. You're going to save thousands. It's savings you're only going to see once this year. Trusted by over 100,000 homeowners. And there are window people here at J. Martin Ramon. What's the telephone number, Ramon?
Man, it's 866-90-NATION.
That's 866-90-NATION. Or you can hit them up and get in touch with them online at windownation.com.
7:03. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Shea for the Tennessee Titans, and first-round pick Treylon Burks agreed to terms on a multi-year contract, according to reports. A 4-year deal worth over $14 million, fully guaranteed, with a 5th-year team option. Heat defeated the Celtics 118-107. Jimmy Butler 41 points for Miami. They outscored Boston 39-14 in the third quarter. Dallas at Golden State 8 o'clock tonight will be the tip for that in the Western Conference Final. Lightning taking on the Panthers in the NHL and defeating Florida 4-1 yesterday. Avs over the Blues 3-2 in overtime. Tonight, Rangers at Hurricanes at 6 o'clock. Oilers at the Flames at 8:30. Major League Baseball, Braves shut out the Brewers 3-0. Held the Brewers to 5 hits. Marcell Ozuna hit a 2-run homer for the Bravos. Sounds beat Louisville 4-3. First pitch tonight against Louisville set for 6:35 at First Horizon Park. Speaking of first pitch, Ron Slay throwing out the first pitch tonight. All your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 2, Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin. At Jay Martin Ramones, where you can find us on Twitter. Andy Staples of The Athletic, next hour.
Oh.
We've had some comments come in too on our Twitter account about the Ryan Tannehill doing it himself conversation we had, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read off a few of them. Micah DeJesus says, if Flacco can win a Super Bowl, heck yeah, Ryan can also. We lying
Did
with
Flacco
that?
win a Super Bowl?
He's got a ring with the team. He had a beautiful deep ball there for a couple
but the way
years.
you described Ryan Tannehill going and winning games.
Flacco did it that playoff season. He had a record playoff year that year.
He was on fire that year.
And he wouldn't have done it if Denver hadn't done the worst coverage ever in overtime. It was almost cover zero.
Like I told
you. It was horrible.
A beautiful deep ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has a beautiful deep ball, man. Jacob Scott said he's already got them close. Had a lead on the Chiefs and defense blew it. Then had MVP caliber year. Then the 1 seed. How quickly people forget. This system the Titans run sets quarterbacks up to fail. Every throw is contested. Receivers are never wide open, meaning the scheme. There's only play action or they're covered is what he's saying as far as just drop back protections from my understanding of that. Vandy Chris, my goodness. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
Stop with the Trent Dilfer thing. That was 22 years ago. It was a totally different NFL. Brad Johnson, same exact thing. Also, both of them had all-time elite defenses. As good as Tennessee's defense is, it's not all-time elite.
Yeah, well, he also backed it up by saying exactly what you just said. He was like, I got to hear Jason say that Dilfer is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill.
I don't think he is.
Okay. If you're saying Ryan Tannehill could not win one, he said he don't buy that, not even for 1 second.
If it's on him, I don't think he can win
If it's
one.
on Ryan Tannehill, he's not winning one.
I just don't think that's in him. I think you know that by now. You said he's old enough. He knows defense. It's right. We know who he is. This is who he is.
Yeah, man. And this isn't a bash Tannehill day. I think I'm more advocating, or we're more advocating of trying to make a case for why the ball should be put in his hand a little bit more often, i.e., to Shay's point, your point, bringing up the idea that year that Flacco won it, he was willing and dealing. Do you trust him enough to let him will and deal the way Flacco did in that postseason? I remember him winning it because it was the big article. He got the deal, I think, after that, and he went right to McDonald's or something after winning. Mm-hmm. Here's another one from TK. The ironic thing about Tannehill and Alex Smith talk is that it was the Titans upsetting the Chiefs at home in the playoffs that started the Mahomes wheels in motion. Sounds familiar to last year.
By the way, that Flacco season where he won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Got the check the next year.
Why did they trust him enough then? Because the defense was so good, or just that he couldn't miss at that point? I remember watching some of the games. You're right. He had some passes that were completed that should not have been completed.
Well, and that's also a guy that had 25 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in the playoffs. That was a guy that performed better in the playoffs than Tannehill has performed in the playoffs for the Titans.
But I wonder where the confidence came in from. Was it the backing of the defense that kind of did it? Because if so, if this defense here can say, we're going to get you the ball back, does that make him play more freely when it comes down to his game plan that, oh, well, if I toss one away, then I know my defense is going to back me up?
The biggest problem was that Tannehill was throwing the football in the final minute of that game to the wrong person against Cincinnati. They did trust him because they let him throw. Mm-hmm. And he immediately threw it to the other team.
That's true.
And they kicked a field goal and beat him.
That's true. Here's another one. Jacob Scott is pretty much saying, get out of your heads that Tannehill's not going to be here. He says, got news for these fools. I like that first line there, Jay. Tannehill will be the quarterback in 2024 because Willis still won't be ready.
No, he won't. If it's not Willis, it'll be somebody else. If it isn't Willis by 24, we're going to have a Mason Rudolph situation like we discussed a couple of weeks ago.
Start to overlook him. But he also said Titans fans will lose their minds, but it's the reality. Rookie quarterback who fell 70 picks going to lead the Titans to the division title after week 6. Get the heck out of here. I think that was in response to P.
Yeah, I don't think Tannehill's getting benched this season. I don't think Willis is in the game this year. I think you need to prepare yourself for that. Also, don't think Tannehill's a quarterback in 24.
You do think he is?
I do not.
You do not? Okay. He's just out of here.
I really don't believe he is in 23.
Yeah. This is another one. The only case there is that Tannehill can do it is at the 49ers game last season. Some will argue that A.J. Brown, I'm sure, but Tannehill was on fire in the second half.
So was Jack Rabbit.
Yes, so was Jack Rabbit on that turn game. It's a season-changing play if we're just being honest about it.
Just like Jesse Bates in the playoff game.
Yeah.
Like you had guys that stepped up that made plays on quarterbacks and baited them into bad throws, baited them into questionable decisions and made them pay for them.
Right. I'm trying to make a case for the guy here. But I say the case that I'm trying to make, I don't think we've seen here in Tennessee just yet as far as tossing him the ball and say, Ryan, go win us games.
I mean, he has the most fourth quarter comebacks over the last 3 years.
That's hinged
in the
on
NFL.
What, too?
But again, I don't care what he's doing in the regular season because he's already proved he can win in the regular season. He's proved he can be his role. He can do whatever he needs you to do or whatever you need him to do. He played at an MVP level. Whoever it was that said that, no. He did not play at an MVP level. He played good football, but the year that you're talking about, I think Aaron Rodgers had 50 touchdowns. He was nowhere close to that.
He hasn't touched that.
That was a bridge too far for me. Let's take Casey's call. Casey, what's up?
What's up, Casey?
What's going on, guys? So, that Joe Flacco, man, I don't think that's a comparison. Cause like y'all said, the guy, I mean, his playoff record, man, is just, I mean, he's got 10 wins. I mean, I don't know how many Tannehill's got, but I'm sure it's not even close to that. But, yeah, with him, I mean, I feel like Tannehill has been given the ball and told to go win a game, especially with Derrick Henry out the last 5, 6 games before the playoffs.
Yep.
So, I mean, when he's been given the ball, I mean, y'all look at the results. I mean, they've not been too good. So, I mean, and then you saying he's won these games. I mean, most of the time, Derrick Henry's won most of them comeback games, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's not Tannehill just coming in, throwing 2 or 3 touchdowns a game and blowing out the other opposing team's defense. If Derrick's not there, he struggled. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And a lot of times they say somebody else beat us in the playoffs. Like against the Ravens, Derrick Henry didn't have a great game. So I've got Tannehill's career playoff record right in front of me and his numbers. And when we come back out of this break, I'm going to tell you exactly what they are because the Flacco comparison needs to die right now.
For reasons of it just ain't the same?
It just is not.
Okay.
We'll come back and talk about that. It's Jay Martin on 104.5 The Zone. You deserve all the comforts of home. That includes endless hot water at your fingertips. Tankless water heaters are game changers for your home. They're powered by new recirculation systems that help save energy, money, time, and space. Lee Company has a limited time offer right now. $750 off your tankless water heater when you purchase a recirculation system. If you haven't experienced this in somebody else's house, you've never had one yourself, you've been thinking about it, saving nearly $1,000 right now. It's a good deal. $750 off a tankless water heater when you purchase a recirculation system. Again, not standing there waiting for the hot water and not waiting for it to then run out. To make the heat even sweeter, qualified buyers are going to receive 18 months. That's a year and a half, 0% financing. I want you to call Lee Company today. Talk to them about it. See if it's a solution for your home. 615-567-1000 is your phone number. 567-1000, or go to leecompany.com/promotions to check out their other promotional offers. Lee Company, all you need. So I didn't know that Wednesday was going to be Tannehill Day.
Me either.
But it has been.
Well, that quarterback tiers thing kind of did it. What tier was he in again, Jay, to kind of
Play
jumpstart
action.
this? No, propped up by the system.
Yeah, propped up by the scheme.
Propped up by the
Never going to get old.
ever.
All right, so I said the Flacco stuff needs to die.
Yeah.
Tannehill's playoff record. He's 2-3. We already know that. He's got 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And he averaged, in those 5 games, 150 yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
He has 754 total yards in 5 playoff games.
Wow.
The year he had 5 touchdowns and 1 interception in 2019, he threw for 123 yards a game. He was 36 of 60 for 369 yards in 3 playoff games. 3. So he had a 98 passer rating during that postseason.
Yeah.
Of course he did. He threw 60 passes. 2020, he had an 83 passer rating. He was 18 of 26 in the only playoff game for 165 yards and an interception. And then this past season, 15 of 24, pass rating of 66, 3 interceptions. 6.9 average pass. 6.4 touchdown percentage. 4.5 interception percentage. 150.8 yards per game average. 69 of 110 in 5 playoff games. That's the total stats. That's not like one season. It's not 2 games. 69 completions out of 110 attempps, which is 62% for 754 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2-3 career record in the playoffs.
2-3 record in the playoffs.
So you take that and you add it to what happened in Miami, which people are always going to remember. And that explains why it often becomes Tannehill's day.
One of my reps just texted me. Shout out for using that word, reps. Marcus has won 3 playoff games.
Yeah, he beat Kansas City. He beat who else has he beaten?
I'm trying to find where it says his as far as playoff wins go. Tannehill's won how many?
2.
And Marcus has won 3. Wow. Wowzers. And
Marcus won 1.
I thought he
Marcus
only
won
won. It was
1?
just the Kansas City game.
It was the Kansas City game. Okay. All right. And Tannehill's won 2 or 3.
But by the way, in 2017, in that playoff game, or in 2 playoff games, he was 41 of 68 for 459, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's Mariota I'm talking about.
Oh, wow.
In 2 games played, he had more than Tannehill had in 3 by a margin of 100.
If you look at also, we're saying what is Tannehill done minus, Derrick Henry or the run game and everything else, I think we had somebody a second ago call in saying he's propped up by, the run game of what Derrick Henry's done. I called it just a second ago, brought that up by saying, he ain't did nothing because it's Derrick Henry winning those games. And Derrick was out, and in that time that Derrick was out, the passing yards for Ryan Tannehill. Let's go after week 8, the Colts game. Let's just say the first full week without Derrick. Passing yardage against the Rams, 125 passing yards.
The Sunday night game?
Yes, sir. Passing yards against the Saints the next week was a win, 198.
And that was a game where Simeon, it almost looked like the Saints were going to come back and win that game.
Yes, sir. I remember that one. The 3 weeks without Derrick, Houston, in a loss, 317 yards passing. And to my understanding, Ryan Tannehill has been the only quarterback here starting.
How many turnovers in that game against Houston?
Turnovers, 5.
Yeah, I was about to say it's 4 or 5.
5. All right, we go to New England, which is a lot.
That was a lot of fumbles from the running game that day. Hilliard and
85 passing yards. It's like rookie numbers here.
And here's the other thing. To all the people that want to say it's all Todd Downing, the numbers I just gave you included Arthur Smith. The playoff stats I gave you, when he was 18 of 26 against Baltimore for 165 last year in that 20-13 loss, that was Arthur Smith. When he, in 2019, threw for 369 yards in 3 playoff games, mind you. Not 1, 3. That was Arthur Smith. So what's the common denominator here?
QB1.
Just for context, I just don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the Joe Flacco talk.
Okay.
As it relates to Tannehill yet. Coach B, what's going on,
What's
Coach?
up, Coach?
Hey, good morning, fellas. Good morning.
Morning.
So, look here, man. My paranoia about Tannehill. I know I've been saying, man, the guy, he chokes. I mean, it is what it is. So here's my paranoia here. I'm looking at the schedule this year, and I'm looking like, man, there's quite a few games that we could potentially be down anywhere from 14 to 21 to nothing, something like that. Do I trust this dude to sit back there and throw the ball and make good decisions? And I've said it all along. His decision-making is not good.
You have.
It was on display in the most pivotal game in Titans history. He tried to throw a ball to a guy who daggum near had a triangle on. The freaking cornerback was draped on him like a house robe on a man, and he still tried to throw that ball in there to him. It's his decision making. I'm not saying he's a suckish quarterback, but God dog, man, that's like me as a grown man going in there touching the hot stove, and I'm just saying, ow, 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 knowing that the stove is hot. You just keep making the same freaking mistakes again. You keep doing the wrong stuff until it gets right. That ain't going to happen. The guy's decision-making is the problem. It's not that he sucks. It's just when it comes to the most crucial times in games, this dude chokes. Yeah. And it is what it is. It was on display in front of millions of people. So if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
You ain't wrong, Coach B. And I'll say this. I appreciate you saying a grown man touching the hot stove. Because as a kid, I did that. And I understand now as an adult.
I need that cut taken and put on page 1.
Yeah.
I need that on page 1, the one where he said, I'm not saying he's a suckish quarterback.
Yeah.
Never heard that before.
Coach B, he's been consistent in his critique of him. I'll give Coach that. He has been on par with what I'm trying to get us to a new era, Jay. You feel me, of the expectation of Ron in which he's got to kind of move forward a little bit with the control of the team. And again, if he's propped up, and we're going to have a very dynamic supporting cast. And I don't know if we have that right now, okay? So let's finish out this 2021 season minus Derek. All right, so Jacksonville, after you lost to New England, had 355 total offense, but only 85 passing yards, okay? That in itself is
against Jacksonville?
Against New England. So
okay.
Post-bye week, 1 in Jacksonville, you had the 161 passing yards and 102 rushing yards, okay? That game was one of the games I think the defense ended up taking over. Pittsburgh ended up having 318 total yards, 117 passing yards. Let's go 3 wins in a row. San Francisco, 188 passing yards that game. Miami, 110 passing yards that game. Houston, 281 passing yards that game. It's just kind of low, Jay.
Yeah.
This says
game manager.
When we're looking at minus Derek, which we had, when we look at total offense as opposed to rushing offense and passing offense, it slants more towards the run game here. And the idea of me suggesting putting the ball in Ryan's hand, it doesn't seem like it's going to make sense for this offense. But I think it's necessary, Jay. I do think that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want it, but I just don't know if it's going to happen either.
I will say to that point and to those stats, I do think Tannehill helped unlock Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But at the same time that Tannehill got that job, Lewan came off suspension. The offensive line got healthy.
Yep.
Marcus had been brutalized, wasn't the same player. It just felt like change of scenery is needed here. We like the guy, but it's time to move on. Tannehill came in a perfect spot and took it and ran with it and flourished with it. and Derek came alive at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those two things need to be mentioned. That Tannehill definitely seemed to be a quarterback that Derrick Henry was able to
connect with.
Yes.
Have some cohesion.
And that was big.
with.
And, of course, him and AJ as well, which unfortunately now AJ's not there. Now he's developing chemistry with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
This offseason is incredibly important. I think it's necessary for your quarterback to be able to do that. I just don't know if it's in this quarterback to do that.
Can I bring up something else, too, Jay? It's very controversial, too. Not even controversial. I don't know what I want to call it. But the sack totals that these quarterbacks here have had over the last, since 2015, has been high.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus, now I know my squad ended up going through that transition also, but we eventually ended up getting it fixed where we were hovering 20 on the year. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But Marcus was sacked 38 times, 23 times, 27, 42, 25 was the split he had with Ryan Tannehill in 2019. So he ended up having 25. Ryan Tannehill took over in 19, and there was a trade, so you can't necessarily say it was all him. So hold up. Ryan Tannehill spent his entire 2019 here?
Yeah.
Oh, so.
But he didn't play the whole year.
Okay,
He
but
took
even
over
still.
from Marcus.
So even still, Marcus had 25 in 2019 and Tannehill had 31. That's 56 sacks on the
One
year.
thing on Marcus and everybody that will call and
And
say
then
this while you were playing.
24 and 47. Go
He
ahead.
was sacked. He held the ball.
Well, that was
forever.
running out of bounds and stuff like that, too.
And he stood in the pocket.
Yeah.
He held the ball forever. And Tannehill was knocked a little bit for doing it, but he got the ball out of his hands a little bit faster. But to that point, there was a game I went to back in 2018 against Baltimore where Marcus was sacked 9 times. And it could have been 20. It was horrendous. They just owned them in that game. But those stats are right. Like, the quarterbacks have taken a beating. Tannehill was sacked second most in the league last year behind Burrow?
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that's got to be fixed. That doesn't help the quarterback either. So when we talk about putting the ball in his hand, like he has to be supported too. If he's going to be propped up, then you got to have a very good support system underneath that being propped up. I'm gonna be real, like trying to parse apart like how I envision this season going. Like, I'll say this. You say what you want to about Indy. Indy did get some stability there. They have a good running game. Their offensive line, they got to figure out what's going to happen at the left tackle position. But it is a 2-team race as far as the AFC South goes. If they don't find a way to get the evolution of Ryan Tannehill into his 11th year, whatever it's going to be, 10th year as a pro, then I don't know how far this team is going to go. Again, we mentioned the playoff run that Joe Flacco had, and you read off like Flacco had a phenomenal postseason as opposed to 3 interceptions the last time we ended up playing here at home as the number 1 overall seed. Now, I know one year is different from the other, but this year in particular for the Titans is not going to be as easy. I think they have one of the strongest schedules as far as any other team in the NFL too. So it's just I want the ball in Tannehill's hand.
They do when you take out the 4 games against the Jags and the Texans. The thing is that it brings down their schedule strength when you add in those 2 teams.
Because it's a quarter of the season, basically.
And I do want to say with Tannehill last year, we do have to put back into context. You
The
had an
injuries.
offensive line that was constantly banged up and in terms of pass protection was at times bad.
Yeah.
You had no receivers on the field. No offense, NWI. You could only do what you could do. But in terms of depth and quality of receivers on the field, you didn't have any. And they made the most out of that running game.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan Tannehill turned the ball over too often last year. There's no question about that. But the circumstances involved in that happening were also at times pretty severe.
Right.
Which makes the 12-5 record just mind-boggling.
That's why he was coach of the year.
But it also made why analytics and those sites that talk about them said, well, this may be one of the weakest number 1 seeds ever.
Oh, yeah.
And you could understand that too.
Now that where emotions are out of it and we can, talk about it like adults, that's why. So this is another part that was just made. Somebody said, so what Jason is saying is Ryan Tannehill gets stage fright on the big stage.
Yes.
Okay.
That In a nutshell, that is my belief at this point because he has crapped the bed in the postseason after showing he can do it in the regular season. Again, most fourth quarter comebacks. He's a guy. He's one of those guys you wouldn't mind having late in a game in October, in November, even in early December.
Yeah.
But in January,
well, that's the next tweet that came to the show account. Well, as Rashad said, hey, let's not make it more than what it is. It's easy. When teams drop the extra body in the box, can 17 make them pay? In the postseason, the answer has to be no.
That's right.
God.
All of that is right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a quarterback that's just good enough to give you hope, but not good enough to win a chip. And a quarterback that makes it very difficult to draft his replacement because he's never going to give you a top 5 draft pick.
So here we go also. This is not us saying this. This is another tweet coming into the show account. Titantown 615, this is a Titans fan, says, and what exactly has Henry done in the same playoff games? I'll wait.
That's true.
I never even
because
looked at that.
They go after a superstar player.
They minimize.
And they say, all right, 17 beat us. That's what defenses have challenged him to do in the playoffs his entire career.
Wow.
Because, look, the year in 2019, Derek was able to run the ball pretty effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And they keyed in against Tom in Foxborough. And they just brutalized Lamar Jackson the next week. But when it's been on Tannehill and they say, we're going to take 22 out of the equation, he's done nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Brian, what's going on, Brian?
What's up, Brian?
Morning, guys.
Morning.
So, I mean, you guys have sort of already hit on it. Tannehill hasn't had consistent offensive line. He has not had consistent weapons. I mean, look, even with AJ there, he missed, 4 games last year?
Mm-hmm.
Julio, I mean, did he even show up? I mean, he had, 1 touchdown his entire time he was with us. And then if you even look at our second and third string wide receivers, I mean, we don't have the depth that some of these other playoff teams have when it comes to wide receivers and tight ends.
Okay.
I mean, for Tannehill to sit back there, he's getting hit. That's why he had 50 sacks last year, is he has no person who can get open. They don't have that key slot guy that can get across the field and get open for him when he's scrambling sometimes because his pocket's collapsing on him. And until they fix that, he's still going to put up the same numbers. It's a fundamental thing that they have to get fixed. And they try to sugarcoat it by bringing in these older wide receivers that we get 1 or 2 years out of. They're going to have to put the money up and either get a top free agent wide receiver like they did this year with Robert Woods, but they're going to have to do that and have a solid number 1 and number 2 wide receiver because you're always going to have a player nicked or banged up or somebody's going to cover him up. And it's never going to work until they figure that out. And that's all I got to say.
Appreciate that.
It's also why I said Austin Hooper may be the most important player on this offense this year.
Can I say this too? That's why I've always been lately been kind of begging that they get away a little bit from the run game because it's hinged so much on that. You know what I'm saying? Just the whole entire production of this offense is hinged so much on the running game.
Against that point,
okay,
that was not your point, but Brian's point.
Yeah.
How many playoff games does A.J. Brown miss?
Played last year.
He's missed 0.
He's missed 0.
Julio, who was hurt, how many playoff games did he miss with his team? He played in 1 and lost.
Yeah.
The point, again, isn't about your health during the regular season. And you can point to all this, but every team has that kind of thing. Yeah. Yes, it was historically bad for the Titans last year. It's also pretty bad for the Green Bay Packers. And they also lost in the first weekend of the playoffs, right after you did, that same night. But when you have your full complement of weapons, whatever that is, whatever the team sets you up with, your quarterback needs to be able to overcome. Yeah. The difference is, if Josh Allen's a quarterback in Tennessee, do you think he's making more plays? Because I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Especially running the football, right?
Yeah.
And Tannehill can run.
Yeah, he can.
Actually, that was one thing last year I think wasn't utilized enough.
Not even close.
And it's probably because they couldn't afford to because all their weapons were either injured on the sideline or missed some of the game.
Yeah, circumstances are definitely a big part of that.
Yeah.
But how much better is this offense if Ryan Tannehill can extend drives and get you 3 or 4 more first downs a game?
What does Lamar do?
It's a lot better of an offense.
I ain't calling him Lamar. Oh, okay. But Baker tries it also. It's a factor of also staying healthy.
That's not a comparison you want to make.
I know, but it's a factor of staying healthy, which is why I mentioned Baker.
Yeah. I think once you got to the playoffs, though, Tannehill probably could have run a little bit more that day.
Mm-hmm.
You can open it up. You can do a little bit more there. Again, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 150 yards per game average in 5 playoff games. It's not about him doing it in October, November, and December. We've seen enough. We know he can do that. But that's not what you want as a fan.
No.
It's cool to go 12-5. Would you rather have gone? If I could have said, "Hey, you guys are going to get into the playoffs by the skin of your teeth." It's going to be one of those years you're going to go 9-8, but you're going to make it into the playoffs. You're going to go to the AFC Championship game. I want that more than going 15-2 and getting knocked out in the divisional round all day long. So that's the same thing goes for what I need from my quarterback and what you should expect from your quarterback if you can get to the playoffs. So take Kenny's phone call on the other side, 615-737-1045. It's Jay Martin on 1045 The Zone. Hey, are you noticing cracks in your bricks or doors and windows sticking or bowing basement wall, chimney leaning? Your steps are sinking, kind of the way that S kind of rolled. You're a little bit worried. You got your concrete, just doesn't look level. All of them are things that maybe aren't as serious as you think, but you're not sure. Well, you need to be sure. You need to find somebody you can trust to come out and tell you what's actually happening. That's United Structural Systems. Here in our community, right in our backyard, for over 25 years, locally owned, not a franchise, 100% customer satisfaction. You can look at it on the Better Business Bureau where they have an A+, over 23,000 satisfied customers and counting. They're going to tell you what's going on. They're going to come out and they're going to say, here's what's going on. Here's what it's going to take to fix it. Sometimes that's a high price tag. We'll be real. Sometimes it's lower than you think, and sometimes it's zero. Sometimes what you're seeing isn't quite what you thought it was. So you got to have somebody that you actually believe will tell you that if it's the case, and that's United Structural Systems. Then you get to make the decision if there is something to be done, and they do the job before you have to pay a cent. Again, over 23,000 satisfied customers can tell you, place the call. United Structural Systems, 615-227-2275. Foundation issues, they don't go away on their own. Got to have the experts. 227-2275 or online at ussTN.com. United Structural Systems. J. Martin Ramon 104.5 Zone. Tariq Cohen tore his Achilles live streaming a workout on Instagram.
God.
Sucks. He's the one that wrote that piece of the Players Tribune last week.
Mm-hmm.
Letter to his younger self, and it was talking about the future and how excited he was to get back out there. I've read that. I was just like, my gosh, snake bit.
He need a bunch of people surrounding him.
Snake bit.
Like, for real. Like, whew.
Horrible. Let's go to Kenny the mailman. Kenny, what's up?
So Kenny.
Hello. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Good morning.
I had a Titans comment, but first, has anybody taken the time lately? I know what y'all do is not brain surgery, all right? But has anybody thanked y'all lately for your whole life really has to be geared to getting up around 3:30 or 4 to do what you do, and you do it every day, and y'all have set a really, really good example of putting the time in and working hard. Has anybody taken the time to thank you for that?
No, matter of fact, my kids hadn't, but they don't care, Kenny. So I'm just going to ride with it, okay? I appreciate you for at least bringing it up.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Well, really, I think only people that do it know how difficult it is. You never get used to it.
No, you don't.
No.
And it cuts, the night beforehand cuts it off your family time and everything. So, you know what? If a lot of people don't know it, I appreciate y'all for
Thank
it.
you, Kenny.
And, everybody in the world, we all know the Titans blew the playoff game, and we'll probably never quote-unquote, get over it. But I never hear anybody talk about, do we really realize they used almost 100 players last year to get through that season?
Yeah.
You just sit there and ponder that, and you go, those last 15 or 20 guys were guys hardly anybody wants, and yet they sort of sewed them together and hobbled through the season. Why don't people ever comment about that?
Yeah. Well, Kenny, I think it's the end product that people are always going to judge best, though. And I think that's why. That's my personal opinion on why. I mean, what do we talk about with Russell Westbrook? Was a triple-double throughout the season, but he didn't win it.
Movie has to have a good ending, or you're not going to buy it. Movie has a bad ending, you walk out with a sour taste in your mouth.
Well, people did comment on it. Mike Vrabel won the Coach of the Year award.
Well,
I mean, we talked about it all year long. Problem was when you got to the playoffs, you were healthier than you had been all season, and you still lost. It's like, 12-5 shouldn't have happened. And by the way, it ain't going to happen if that were to happen again, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it possible? Sure, but that's not a sustainable metric. That's the problem.
Right.
But when you were healthiest, Derek's back, and maybe that wasn't a good thing in that moment for him to be able to go. AJ, Julio, everybody played in that game, basically. And you lost to the Bengals. I think that's the problem. It's like nobody cares about the season anymore because the ending of the movie was bad.
And then it makes you more mad because you saw the team that was supposed to be the opening act take it to the show.
Right.
Yeah.
They got there. Jason in Nashville. Jason, what's up?
What's up, Jason?
Hey, guys. So I have two quick comments, one quick comment and then a question for J Mart specifically and Ramon as well. So my first comment is on this Ryan Tannehill discussion. I do think it's an important discussion to have, but I kind of want to know, like, what is our end goal? What is the root of this discussion? Like, are we starting to suggest that, halfway through the season we're expecting Malik to play, or are we just reflecting right now? Because I think Malik has great talent, and I hope he's the future of our franchise down the road. But, I mean, the same thing that you hear all the analysts say is he has a ton of raw talent, but he's not necessarily, ready for the league yet. So, I mean, unless Ryan Tannehill comes out and has an atrocious season, are we giving him, one more year as a prove it, show us, you have this guy breathing down your neck, show us what you have, or you're out, or are we expecting Malik to play at some point this year? That's my comment. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, but also I have one question for J Mart.
Sure.
A couple weeks ago, you were talking about Tony Gonzalez, a quote that he said about how only like 3% of players truly care about the outcome of the games, are really invested in winning. So I guess by that math, you would say that's 2, maybe 3 players per team. What, with y'all having more inside access to the Titans organization than we do, if you had to, what are those 2 or 3 players on the Titans teams that you think are truly there, for the wins? I mean, obviously they want the paycheck, but, they are truly invested in the winnings of the game.
It's a good question and good thoughts from you. Sorry if I cut you off there. We're going to get to break. I wrote that down so we can talk about that to open the third hour. As for Malik, we don't want to see him this year. I think what you're saying is, what's our goal with this conversation? The short goal is to explain why the Titans might not make the playoffs this year. That's a large part of what you're saying without saying it, is it's going to be tough this year. Unless Tannehill somehow reverts back to 2019 and has the confidence. And even then, even if you're 12-5, how good are you going to feel going into that playoff game based on what you've
recent
history? How's your heart going to be if you get into the playoffs this year? How are you going to feel about that until you see it? Because Tannehill right now, to me, is in James Harden territory, where he's got to win in the playoffs for me to believe he can win in the playoffs. I got to see him do it before I can ever predict it to happen. And that's a bad spot for him to be in. And I don't want to feel that way about him, but I read the stats to you. And that's an issue. But we'll talk about that 3% quote. I think it's an interesting thought experiment. And we'll take John's call. John, you hang on as well. We got the headlines. We've also got Andy Staples coming up in about 20 minutes here on 104.5 The Zone. Buying a home, big time decision. It can be really easy to just feel like you don't know where to start. You're overwhelmed with all the information, all the different things that you have to think about and who you have to deal with. That's one you can control real easily. If you get a mortgage expert that you can trust, that puts you on the right track. That's the peace of mind that you need. That's the confidence that you need. As the Southeast leading mortgage lender, Mortgage Investors Group is here to help you get not just any loan, but the right home loan. Home ownership is within reach right now. First-time homeowners have more assistance available to them than you guess. Mortgage Investors Group is going to help you just isolate that and key in on it. They care. They're going to make sure you close on time. They're going to help you realize your dreams because their goal is to help you achieve yours. If that's a new home, a better rate, big addition to your current home, whatever it is, they're ready to make it a reality. Let MIG work for you. Go to migonline.com. That's migonline.com. Get all the info you need there or text 3 letters, MIG to 31399. MIG to 31399 to get pre-qualified. Mortgage Investors Group, the right home loan, equal housing lender, license number 109111.
8:02, good morning. I'm Jonathan Shane for the Tennessee Titans, and their first-round pick, Treylon Burks, agreed to terms on a multi-year contract, according to reports. 4-year deal worth over $14 million, fully guaranteed with a 5th-year team option. NBA playoffs yesterday. Heat defeated the Celtics 118-107. Jimmy Butler scored 41 points. Miami outscored Boston 39-14 in the third quarter. Western Conference Final starting tonight. Dallas at Golden State. 8 o'clock will be the tip for that. NHL playoffs yesterday. Lightning 4, Panthers 1. Avs defeated the Blues 3-2 in overtime. Tonight, Rangers at Hurricanes. 6 o'clock puck drop. Oilers at the Flames. The Battle of Alberta at 8:30 for that one. Braves defeated the Brewers 3-0 yesterday. Marcell Ozuna hit a 2-run homer for Atlanta. The Sounds beat Louisville 4-3. The Sounds are now 25-11. First pitch tonight at First Horizon Park against Louisville, set for 6:35. Ron Slay will be throwing out the first pitch. Tennessee baseball beat Belmont 18-0. The Vols 46-7 on the season. Vandy beat Middle Tennessee 7-2 at Hawkins Field. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your home for the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 3. J. Mart and Ramon here, 104.5 The Zone. Andy Staples of The Athletic next segment. Ramon Foster played 11 years in the NFL. Jonathan Schaefer. I'm Jason Martin at Ramon Foster, at Schaefer on Sports, at J. Mart Radio, at J. Mart and Ramon. Jeremy Fowler has a list of 28 free agents and what they might be doing in terms of big money in the offseason or not so much. On one that stood out like early to me was Quentin Nelson potentially getting $20 million a year
For
as a guard.
As a guard. Should have been born a few years later, Jay.
He's pretty good.
Remember when guards were happy to get like 8 a year?
Scherf is the highest paid right now in Jacksonville at 16.5 per. Nelson will break the bank while he has a career pass block win rate of 94.7 and doesn't play left tackle. It's going to be a left tackle conversation on money. That's how Fowler writes it.
His floor is way higher.
He's great.
He's top 6, top 5, whatever it was.
I mean, he's probably best at the position in the game.
Hutchinson?
He's really good.
Since Hutchinson, I would probably say as far as impact, somebody will have a different answer for me. But since Hutchinson and an impact and what you can do, I know Faneca was damn good too. As far as like trend-setting guards, Hutchinson, Faneca. As far as recent guys, yeah, that's it.
Don't you, Shafe? Don't you just love that guards are getting paid and Ramon's retired?
Guess what? Still paid though.
Yeah, you got something. You got something, but I don't think that makes the point you wanted to make.
You know what I did though? What's for me is for me. I got over that a long time ago. After I got my deal the first time, I was like, yeah. And then I was like, damn, I want more money. And then I got another one. I was like, yeah. And then I was just like, okay, Mo, we're gonna continue to start chasing numbers at this point. So what are you actually happy with? I kind of got over that.
We'll look at the 3% quote on.
Can't win in the
question
playoffs.
Was asked about that in the last segment. Let's get these calls though.
All right,
Ron's on line 1. Ron, what's up?
Hey guys, how you doing? Love the conversation. Appreciate it every morning on my way to work.
Thanks,
buddy.
You're welcome. I'd like to comment on Malik Willis. Again, he's a Titan. We embrace that, not a problem. And I just wanted to bring up the point that a lot of draft analysts, Cynthia Freeland and some other great folks out there in the NFL world, had him going number 2 with the Lions. Obviously, he fell where he fell and wasn't picked up for things that us, the common NFL fans that love the game, weren't aware of. There's things that we just don't know, which is fine. Pittsburgh, I believe, picked up the first quarterback late as well. But really, my main point, J-Mart, you're absolutely right. I agree with you most of the time, and we don't want to see him this year because he does need to develop. I understand he's got unique talents, but when we look at his overall, I can't really call it a career right now, but his overall production at Liberty University, they lost their last 3 games where they only scored a total of 14 points the last 3 games to close out their season. And then I believe they had a blowout win in the bowl game, which is good, but he has to develop. Of all the teams that he faced in his college senior year, I believe his senior year, his last college season, only 3 players were drafted out of all the teams that he played, and 2 of them come from Mississippi. So my point being is, had he been in the SEC, probably wouldn't have made it. Since he come from an outside school, has unique talents, was allowed to flourish, gained a lot of spotlight, probably a lot of press because he did things against some of these smaller universities, I'm with you. Pump the brakes, develop the guy, let him sit behind somebody. And, we need Tannehill to perform this year. No secret there. I just think we need to look at the whole thing. He's a rookie. He needs time. And Ramon, correct me if I'm wrong, when these guys come in, had he played in an SEC-type school that is more pro-ready style offenses, he's not ready to take a T.J. Watt hit. He's not ready. He played a lot of small schools, and I want to point, I did my research, only 3 people out of every university he faced were drafted. So that should kind of tell you there's a lot of guys played good players,
right?
But those players weren't NFL caliber guys. He needs to sit and learn.
Very good call right there, yeah.
I don't want to see him this year. I will say this. We can caveat that. Unless he's ready. Don't anticipate he would be, but if they actually believed he was ready and Tannehill was struggling, we could have a different kind of conversation. I just don't. I'm not going to trust that he can be ready that fast. And I would rather not see them throw him into the fire.
Can I say this? It was a John just call in too about that. The defenses, just the way they do stuff, especially the secondary linebackers, like the D-line, they can do their own thing. Front guys are supposed to handle that. But the rocking of safeties, the blitzing off the side, like is writing Chinese, not reading it, is writing, which is probably way harder than actually reading it when you get a young quarterback from a smaller division that hasn't seen those types of things. So you're right. His level of exposure to what NFL is going to look like, he's got to get sped up. And I think he's got the mental capacity to actually get to that point. To your point, it's just going to take time.
Yeah.
And we got to be all right with that.
Yeah, even if Tannehill struggles, don't be the person that's first in line to say, put Malik in, we got to see what he's got. Don't. You would much rather have a great career with him, fully developed, than have a pie in the sky season this year. That's not the way to live life. John is in Nashville. John, what's up?
Hey, fellas. So I listen to everybody. Y'all got a great show. I listen to everybody in the afternoon, but everybody's always on Tannehill, and sometimes justifiably so. But which Tannehill would you rather have? Arthur Smith Tannehill or Todd Downing Tannehill? Because the Todd Downing Tannehill is totally different than the Arthur Smith Tannehill. I mean, can we agree on that? So my question is this. In our playoff game, listen, he played bad. We get it. But did we actually change our game plan to help him out?
Nah.
Because the Cincinnati players, they even talked about or bragging about in the sidelines. They knew what plays were coming. In order for him to be better this year, I'm talking about Tannehill, is that what are they going to do to change Downing's playbook? Because we were talking about at the beginning of the season, why isn't he rolling out any? You're keeping him in the pocket. Just get y'all's take on that. I mean, he's catching a lot of fire. He is. Everybody's on him, but I don't hear anybody talking about Downing anymore. And I mean,
well, I know what you're saying, John. Here's the thing. To Jonathan Schaefer's point about Austin Hooper being the most important contributor this year, potentially.
Yeah.
The most important contributor this year for the Tennessee Titans is Tim Kelly.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. If Tim Kelly can be whatever Jim Schwartz was for Shane Bowen last year, help him grow into the role a little bit, and help those players, put them in positions to succeed, then there are really no excuses left. The Downing excuse exists right now because He was definitely up and down as a play caller last year.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I read through all of Ryan Tannehill's playoff stats was to also mention that Arthur Smith had 2 of those seasons. And he still didn't do very much from a statistical standpoint, meaning Ryan Tannehill. But there is no one that has been acquired by this football team over the past few months that is more important to whatever this team is going to be than Tim Kelly.
Mm-hmm. I can't go against it. It's just why I say put the ball in Ryan's hand. People
And maybe
might wanna
that's the
hear
plan.
that.
Maybe it is.
You know, like that's what I'm really hinging that conversation on is you don't hire Tim for no reason. He was brought in way before Malik, so you can't say he's coaching up Malik.
Yeah, no. I mean, that might be
That's a bonus.
side benefit.
Yeah.
Benefit. Yeah. That's right. DeJesus, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning.
Hey, so I just want to comment. Been listening to you guys, and so during the regular season, the guys, the Titans and their offense, they play a game of chess. They're pretty good about outsmarting everybody. But when it comes to the playoffs, it seems like they try to take their best moves of chess and then implement that in the playoffs. And the bad thing is, everybody has a counter for it. So they don't come up with nothing new. They don't change their offense to outsmart defenses in the playoffs, and that always comes to bite them in the butt. Another thing is I got to if I could do it real quick, because I probably won't be able to call back, I got to F you Aaron Rodgers real quick.
Yeah, go right ahead. It's tomorrow, but you go ahead and set it up.
So it's Tuesday. It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm headed towards Murfreesboro on the interstate. There is nobody in front of me for a whole mile. And this one person decides they want to cut right in front of me while I'm doing 60, and nobody else in front of me.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is wrong with you? So to that person, I say,
you, Aaron Rodgers.
Well done, Jesus.
That's terrible. It is. And there's nobody on the roads at those hours, man.
Same thing as when you're in an empty movie theater and somebody sits like 2 seats away from you. It's like, hey,
this is ours.
Space.
Yeah.
Like, you move. Get out the way. It's like Mike Keith on the way to Nissan Stadium. Ludicrous.
Move.
All through. Andy Staples of The Athletic will join us on the other side. He spent some time with Hendon Hooker a couple of weeks ago. He's also done a restaurant like franchise draft as part of his podcast. We'll have some fun with him. That's always a good conversation. As we get closer to what's going to happen with SEC schedules and NIL and good Lord.
Reading that article, yes, I'm just like, goodness, what is it's this almost bigger than the NFL the way it's setting it up.
It isn't, but it is very, very big. It's Jay Martin Ramon. I know you're very dramatic. Jay Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
So, Ron, we hear about getting cash back for your cash out refi, but what can I actually do with that money? Is that my money? What's the understanding of cashing out or refinancing your house?
That money's yours. You can do whatever you like with it. You can pay off credit cards. You can do a home remodeling project. You could pay for your kids' schools or weddings. You could pay off debt. You could go to Vegas. Heck, you can get slapped in the face. You can do anything you want. That's your money. And here's how a cash out refinance works. Let's say you purchased your house a couple years ago and you owe $300,000. Now, let's say in today's market, that home appraises for $400,000. Well, you have $100,000 in equity just sitting there. With a cash out refinance, we go in, we replace your existing loan with a new loan, and we pull that equity out. Our average client received over $54,000 at closing with a simple cash-out refinance. What would you do with that money? Let's make it a reality. TheHomeLoanExpert.com. The Home Loan Expert, LLC.
Album that scared me when it first came out.
Me too.
We talked about it every time it comes on. That album came out.
This was the turn of the century too, wasn't it? Like Y2K and everything.
It was pretty close. The cover kept me away from purchasing it, but I heard it later, obviously.
I didn't want to listen to all of this album as a kid.
It was just kind of like, I don't know if this one's for us.
It's like, is Tupac really alive? No, it's Machiavelli. I was like,
It's J. Martin Ramone. 104.5. You were kind of trailing off there.
I said, is Tupac really alive? He says, not now.
You literally just did it again.
I can't say it out loud. I can't say it super firm.
Oh, man. Mark's Bay Real Estate Hotline brings us Andy Staples, The Athletic. Andy, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Is Maggiano's a chain? I didn't even realize this, Andy. I saw your restaurant draft that you and Ari and everybody were doing at The Athletic, and we had a rehearsal dinner there, and I thought we were going somewhere fancy. Now I see that Ari has Maggiano's listed in his restaurant draft as one of the 5 restaurants he would eat at as a chain. I didn't realize Maggiano's would be classified a chain. I must not have realized it was in as many places as it is.
Well, it is in a lot of locations. So, yes.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought that reminds me. It's like, did I go to the Olive Garden for my rehearsal dinner?
Basically, you went to the family style Olive Garden. Maggiano's and Buca di Beppo are the same thing.
Okay.
No, so that draft was, it's not 5 chain restaurants you'd eat at or your 5 favorite chain restaurants. There's a lot more strategy behind this draft. It is the 5 restaurants you're allowed to eat at for the rest of your life. So you can only pick 5. You're not allowed to pick the grocery store. You're not allowed to eat at home. So you have to pick 5 chain restaurants, and those are the only 5 places you can eat for the remainder of your life.
Okay, so you got 5 restaurants on an island where all the trees and foliage and animals are poison.
Nope. Not on an island, like in America. You're too lazy to cook, and you're not allowed. Like, there's a force field around every grocery store. You can get coffee at the gas station. We did settle on that.
All right, so Cracker Barrel. Look, you have Cracker Barrel number 1. Cracker Barrel hits a lot of different things. It's a good breakfast. It's a good lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
All of that. You can get dumplings.
You get fried chicken. You get dumplings. Now, Ari killed me because the rules of our draft essentially made Cheesecake Factory Peyton Manning. Like you have to pick Cheesecake Factory number 1. So he had the first pick in the draft. He got Cheesecake Factory because for those the menu is essentially
everything.
Yeah, but they also have brunch, so you can get breakfast stuff there too, and that's the icing on the cake there on the cheesecake, as it were. But yeah, so once that was off the board, I had to really strategize.
Yeah, so Cracker Barrel's a good choice. And then looking at it, I don't know what Mastro's Steakhouse is. I've never heard of that before.
Maestro?
It's a fancy steakhouse.
I've never heard of it.
We both went. I had Ruth's Chris. He had Mastro's. They're both fancy steakhouse chains.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you had your finer dining, you have your seafood, and this is the other part of it, your drinking situation. Like, you want some cocktails, you can't make them at home, so you're going to that place to get your fancy cocktails. And I've got a couple places where I can just go drink some beer.
Yeah, so you also have Chipotle on here. That's one where I bet that's kind of polarizing. Why would Chipotle be your second pick?
Because it's the only place that'll keep me from weighing 800 pounds. Because I can have salad. I can do a bowl as a salad. But I still have tacos. I still have chips and salsa as an option if I want it. But that's probably going to be kind of my everyday driver there. That's a lot of Chipotle bowls, just controlling calories, that sort of thing.
So Chipotle over Moe's?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Boy, I'm on the opposite side of that.
Listen, just because the Moe's chips are free, and I used to be Team Moe's too because the chips were free. I didn't believe anybody should force anybody to pay for chips, but Chipotle's actual fixins in the bowl or the burrito are just so much better. The meat is much higher quality, and you do have to pay for the chips, but the chips are also better. And Moe's, the last few times I've been to Moe's, they've been a little bad on refilling the old salsa bar. So
See, I'm a queso guy, and I think Chipotle's queso is just lacking.
I don't get queso. Yeah, I know Chipotle's queso sucks, but I don't eat queso. Or I mean, it's fine. I'll eat it, but it's not something I go out of my way to choose.
So we went to a Mexican restaurant on Friday, Andy, as we brought you on to talk college football, and all we talked about is food. I brought pork rinds in a Ziploc bag because I didn't want to eat the chips and get rid of the carbs. Is that an all right move for me to make? Like Abby my wife put them in her purse. She's like, I don't want everybody to see that we've brought pork rinds. I'm like, They need to jump on our level. This is the way. This is how I eat queso every day and lost almost 200 pounds.
This is the way. That's genius. Who would be embarrassed of pork rinds? That's an incredible idea. Because here's the thing, I like chips, but they are very empty calories.
Mm-hmm.
Pork rinds, not as empty. They're just not.
The other, so y'all mentioned Chipotle and Moe's. What a
Qdoba gets any mention?
They don't get any play because that was my first love.
Qdoba's fine. I mean, in that one, I'm going for the more locations because remember, it's these are the only places I'm allowed to eat. I have a job that requires me to travel around the country, so I want to make sure I can actually eat. But no, Qdoba's fine. I have no animus toward Qdoba. Freebirds, which is a chain out of Texas, that might actually be the best of those places. But they don't have enough locations.
That's fair. I'll give you that one. I wasn't really – you're right because Moe's are everywhere. But Qdoba, I thought for the longest, had the best queso and the best burritos. I thought Chipotle, if I can be honest with you, was a little bland.
They didn't have queso for a while. I remember going to the Super Bowl and they had just gotten it or whatever, and we were on Radio Row and I had it. I was just like, Chipotle,
it was very grainy to me. Like their Chipotle's queso is very grainy to me. Like they didn't mix it right. The cheese, I don't know what it was, but I'm gonna be real with you. Only thing I eat from Chipotle is like maybe 2 tacos. The burritos don't do it for me. The bowls either. Very dry.
Oh no, I'm going a bowl. Well, here if it's dry, you do a couple scoops of the hot red salsa, and you're good to go.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever had a bowl from Chipotle.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try it just so I can add to the discussion a little bit more. I might be lacking in the discussion. So, no segue. What's going to happen with the SEC schedule, Andy?
I still think that it winds up being 3 permanent opponents, 9 games. The 9-game thing, it's funny because everybody always complained about 8 games. Well, they need to do it like everybody else does it. They're doing it, but not because everybody else does it. They're doing it because TV would like them to play 9 games. And their athletic directors would like more of the teams to come through more often so they can sell a less boring season ticket package. But I still think the 3 common opponents, or 3 permanent opponents, and then everybody else rotates through twice every 4 years is the more elegant way to do it.
Yeah, I was looking at the articles. Like some teams, if they do it, I forget which pod it was, but you might not see a team for 7+ years. I think you wrote in there that you who was it? Is it Florida that hadn't gone to College Station at all while they've been in the SEC since 2012?
No, they went the first year.
They went the first.
They played the first game, the first SEC game in College Station, and hadn't been back since. They're going this year. But there's still one place A&M hasn't been. I'm pretty sure, and it's dumb. Anything that causes teams to not play for 7 years that are in the same league is a dumb format, and they don't need to do that.
Are we finally going to move away, not just in the SEC, but across college football? I feel like we are, and we've been talking about this for years. Can we get rid of the divisions so we can get the best teams in the conference title games, if that's indeed what we're going to do? It certainly looks like that's coming.
Yeah, that's happening. The ACC is doing it. They want to do it for next season, for 2023. And I think that's fantastic because they've already done it. I mean, they've shown what a divisionless season could look like. They had to do it in 2020 because they added Notre Dame as the 15th school, and the schedule had to be flexible, so they just went divisionless. And lo and behold, we got 2 teams in the playoff. Like both teams that played in their championship game made the playoffs. So that's a ringing endorsement for divisions because it does knock out the possibility of you having a fluky conference champ that would take you out of a 14 playoff or would, hurt your seeding in a bigger playoff. And the other thing with the bigger playoff, if you got the two best teams playing, there's a good chance if your second best team wins the championship game, then they both make the playoff. And now the SEC, a lot of times they're probably both in, but all the other leagues, there's a real good chance that if the favorite wins, then one team makes it. If the underdog wins, then two teams make it. So I'm all for that. Now the question is, do you get these instant rematches? Which I think that is one kind of drawback. Like Ohio State, Michigan. Ohio State gets over the hump last year. Michigan gets over the hump, finally beats Ohio State. In a divisionless format, they would have had to play again the next week in Indianapolis. Now, the way that game went down, I don't think the result would have been any different. But how frustrating is that for a Michigan fan? It's like you finally beat Ohio State, and then Ohio State turns around and beats you 7 days later for the conference title. The other one, and I'm glad you asked this because I'm doing a mailbag question for tomorrow at the Athletic. Somebody asked me, do you move those rivalry games into the middle of the season, like where Texas Oklahoma is, to kind of keep them from being the instant rematches? And I don't think they'll move them at first. I think they'll leave them where they are. But I'm trying to figure out how frequently this would happen and go into the past and see when this would have happened. That Florida-Tennessee 2001, because remember they moved the game from week 3. And Spurrier had always wanted that game to be at the end of the season. He wanted to move Florida State into the early season and play Florida-Tennessee at the end because it was, at the time, the de facto SEC championship game. That one, Tennessee won that game after it got moved to December following the postponement because of the September 11th attacks. Tennessee wins that game 34-32. They would have played again in Atlanta the next week. Because they both beaten LSU, and they both had better records than everybody in the league. So they would have played in Atlanta. The one that's weird is the kick six, because the assumption is Auburn and Alabama would have just played in Atlanta the next week. But Missouri was also 7-1, and they didn't have enough common opponents to figure out how to break the tie. So I think it would have been the BCS standings at the time, or computer rankings, which would have made it Alabama-Auburn, because Alabama was ranked one spot ahead of Missouri in the BCS standings after the kick six game. But it would have been, Missouri people would have been really mad, and probably justifiably so.
With the number one recruiting class right now as it stands is Notre Dame. This breaking up of conferences or divisions, are they going to be the biggest beneficiaries of it all, considering people have been challenging them, get into a conference and have a championship game and whatnot?
No, that won't affect them at all. What will affect them is if the playoff expands to 12, and if it looks like the proposal that was put out last year, which I think it'll look somewhat similar to that, then Notre Dame never has to join a conference. If they can get in by being one of the top 12 teams, or it's really kind of top 11, because if they're doing the 6 highest ranked conference champs, there's a chance there's a conference champ that's outside of that. But in most years, if Notre Dame is good and 11-1, 10-2 good, then they're probably going to get in. Like right now, they are basically saying, we don't want to join a conference. We understand that we have to go undefeated to make the playoff, with the exception of the 1 year that they were playing an ACC schedule and got in with a loss. But they get that that's sort of the price of admission. If they want to be independent, they have to be 12-0 to make the playoff.
Wow.
So if this goes through, if the 12 team goes through for 2026, then they don't have to worry about that at all. Like, they never have to worry about joining, because there would be no disadvantage to them other than, and they were willing to accept this. And I don't know if it's going to happen this time, but the proposal that was put out last year, they would have never been a top 4 seed because they couldn't win a conference championship. And Jack Swarbrick, their athletic director, who was involved in creating that proposal, was like, nope, we're fine with that. we understand we don't have a conference championship game, so by all means, put us in the first round, make us play an extra game, and then that way everybody's on the same, kind of the same page. And I don't have an issue with that. I think that's great. I think it's funny that people keep trying to push them into a conference that they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And as long as it doesn't hurt them, I don't see a need to.
So a little bit of a different question. We talked all the way through the season about quarterbacks, and I knew how you felt about Matt Corral, and we talked about how these other guys were going to project. Well, the Titans drafted Malik Willis, and who knows what that's going to be. What do you think of Malik Willis? Obviously, he's raw. He's going to have time to grow and all that. But what did you see in him in terms of what you did get to see of him last year at Liberty?
Well, he was the highest ceiling of any guy in the draft in terms of arm, athleticism. So you put everything together, he could be great. But my thing with Malik was don't put him in a situation where he's got to start a game next season. And the Titans are not that situation. Ryan Tannehill is very much the starter, and you don't have to worry about that. And because with Malik, it's a matter of how can he adjust to NFL offenses? Can he do the things you're asked to do in NFL offenses in terms of processing, in terms of dealing with protections, all that stuff? He just hasn't been asked to do that in the college offenses he's played in. It doesn't mean he can't. It just means he's never been asked to. So give him a chance to learn that stuff. The tools are better than anybody's tools in this draft. So if he can learn that stuff, then they got themselves a bargain. And if he can't, then, well, they didn't use a first-round pick, so it's not the end of the world.
And one other one, just because, look, he's being asked to step into a role that he can't fulfill immediately. But Treylon Burks, we watched a lot of him last year. He was really impressive. What does Treylon Burks bring? What do you think he can be as a pro?
He can be the guy he's replacing.
Yeah, okay.
It's just a little extra pressure, to be that guy. You saw the video of the look on Treylon Burks. What did he do? Like a big woo or something like knowing, oh my God, they just traded A.J. Brown to take me.
Right.
Like that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy because A.J. Brown was killing it. And so I think, if he can deal with that, he has the skill set. He comes from an offense. It's not the same offense. It's actually A.J. Brown came from the offense that Malik Willis played in. Treylon Burks comes from the Kendall Briles, the old Baylor offense. In both cases, you're not really running the whole route tree. But you saw A.J. Brown had no problem picking it up. It's, again, the same, just like I said with Malik Willis. It's not that the person can't do it, it's they've never had to. So when you try to teach it to them, if they learn it quickly, then boom, you got yourself a guy. And I'll tell you what, that play of Treylon Burks where he's outrunning the entire Alabama secondary.
Yes.
Like, that dude's 215 pounds. That's pretty amazing.
So what bowl do I need to go get at Chipotle today, Andy? If it's my first Chipotle bowl, what would you suggest?
So I like the steak. I go double steak, white rice, pinto beans, lettuce, cheese, veggies, 2 scoops of the hot red salsa.
I never did
pinto beans. Let it. I like black beans too, but sometimes I just think the pinto beans mix better with salsa.
Okay.
That's fair. I'm going to write that down. Andy, good stuff, brother. We appreciate
it, Andy.
All right, guys.
Indeed. That's Andy Staples. Yeah, so it's polarizing to say Chipotle over Moe's to me because queso is such an important component of your experience personally.
And again, to me, I've
seen the Chipotle ads where they show the ingredients and they're making them. That does look better than one of theirs. But the queso, man, the queso.
I'm trying to convince Kayla Anderson to get delivered to us Taco Time, which is West Coast, and have it flown in on dry ice and all that. So we're working on it.
Oh, okay. Power move been made here.
I'll tell you what was good. When we were in L.A., we had this place called Chronic Taco, and it was for the munchies.
I bet it was good.
It was so good.
It
was stupid good, man.
Worldwide tacos.
Here in town, the best to me, I'll give them a free plug. Baja. Baja burrito.
Like that?
Tremendous. They have pineapple salsa that's maybe the best salsa I've ever had.
Or we go to best thing at Chipotle, the corn salsa. To me.
I'm hungry. It's Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
Two Rivers Ford can custom order any new Ford you want, any model, any color, and available features. They'll get your Ford manufactured for you and deliver it right to your door. But Ramon, what about the price? Is it more expensive to custom order than to buy off the lot? Not at all. In fact, Two Rivers Ford has the best prices around whether you buy off the lot or you place a custom order. And that's because Two River Ford still sells below MSRP on all non-specialty new Fords like they've always done. I personally think it's pretty cool that Two Rivers Ford could have raised their prices during the pandemic and during the supply chain issue, but they chose not to because selling a fair, honest price is what they've been doing business for almost 40 years. And let's face it, a fair price and great service keeps customers coming back for decades. It's why they're here for the long haul. You can always count on Two Rivers Ford to be honest and upfront and to never gouge their customers. When it comes to your trade-in, you'll always get the max trade-in guarantee at Two Rivers Ford also. So custom order the exact Ford you want. Get a great price, get the most for your trade-in, and feel good about shopping with a locally owned business that has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
Welcome back. Jay Martin and Ramon, 104.5 Zone. Schaefer just bopping his head.
Daft Punk, man.
Yep, I know. I'm looking at Chipotle's menu during the break. A keto salad bowl.
Keto salad bowl?
But then the keto salad bowl has super greens. Super greens often includes a little bit of carb, but that doesn't look too bad. So I saw that Tom Brady's going to be roasted.
How?
By comedians or by people.
I'm just saying, why is he being roasted now? What are we doing here? Is it warranted or does it don't matter when and why?
He's doing a Netflix roast special where he's featured. He's going to be in a series of special called The Greatest Roast of All Time, The GROAT. He's the executive producer. So he's part of the whole thing around it. And he's going to be the guest of honor at a roast.
Can I be honest about Tom Blake? I love what he's doing.
New Tom's great.
No, I love what he's doing, but he's doing a whole lot of self-serving himself, okay?
He's having some fun. He served a lot of other masters for a long time.
He has. But I'm just like, Tom, how much are we going to do here? But I guess when you're given that platform, you do as much as they allow you.
Speaking of Netflix, Norm Macdonald, who passed away during the pandemic, who dealt with cancer for years and years. This got revealed a couple of days ago. He filmed a comedy special from his house when he got sick that was supposed to be released in the event of his death. And they're going to release it on the last day of May. Yeah. And his publicist, his agent, came out and said, this is unprecedented. Nobody's ever done this before. It's all new material.
Wow.
Everything during the pandemic, it's just like he did it at home.
Not really an athlete.
Before he was too sick to, because he knew he probably wasn't going to go back on the road. And he wanted it after his death for this to come out and just be something else that might make people laugh.
Wow.
So that's coming out at the last day of May. I can't wait to see what that looks like.
A letter to the people.
Wait.
Wow, I'm looking forward to seeing that. You're going to have to tell me about it, Jay.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. You're going to have to tell me about it.
I'm going to be real, just kind of how my life is right now. Like, my time gets swallowed up like it's nothing these days. Hey,
it sounds great. Tell me about it, Lick.
Thanks for the, for real? That's what you just did to me.
I'm very interested in what this is going to look like, but it's the time to actually do it, Jay. I got so many shows. I said this. I got so many. Just a backlog, Jay, of just stuff I gotta get to. Ain't got no time right now. You'll see. When CG's playing those tournaments. Oh yeah. No. Okay. All right. Remember that. Play the world's smallest violin for me.
Abby pulls that on me every once in a while at night. I'll come in, even with the broken foot, and she'll just look at me and she'll go,
"Tots and prayers to Jay."
Because your kid's already boozing.
Stop it.
Yeah,
that photo will never see the light of day. Cousin Andrew, what's going on, Andrew?
All right, tell me about the pork rinds and queso.
Well, pork rinds have no carbs.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually it's used as an appetizer and stuff. When I went to a television festival, Andrew, years ago, covering it for Outkick, I was down there and they had queso pork rinds. Yeah. And I looked into it. I was just like, well, why would I eat chips? Because I'm eating, as Andy just said, empty calories and a ton of carbs, where, yeah, you're still getting calories out of pork rinds, but pork rinds will hold up the queso more. It's almost like having a Frito that's a dip Frito instead of a regular one, and it tastes great. Like, I don't mess with the flavored pork rinds with queso. Love flavored pork rinds. But pork rinds with just straight up queso, to me, is excellent, and I eat it probably 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
That will be going on the grocery list because I've never heard of that. But hey, if I can eat queso and not add on more unnecessary pounds, I'm good with it.
That's right.
That was not the real reason for my call, but I wanted to know about it. So I really called because I'm curious. I'm kind of seeing something and looking at stats and such. So with Todd Downing, he first got that start at offensive coordinator with Oakland with Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And Derek Carr was in his second year when Downing took over. And he arguably had his best success under Downing for those first 2 years. And then obviously Downing was fired in 2018 because of the massive regression of the offense. And I'm curious if Downing has adapted his offensive scheme from back then. I don't remember because I didn't watch much Raiders back then, but I'm curious if any of you know, and if so or if not, regardless, I'm curious if what they're doing here with drafting Malik Willis and bringing in Tim Kelly, are they looking at possibly a Deshaun Watson-style quarterback? Obviously, he's not Deshaun Watson. That's not what I'm saying. But with what Tim Kelly did with Deshaun Watson, are they thinking they maybe can recreate that in the coming seasons once this Downing Tannehill nonsense is over with? And the last thing I'd like to add here, too, is if you look, I really think this is an offensive coordinator problem and not necessarily all of a Tannehill problem.
I can be with you on that.
Look at the guys Arthur Smith had, and look what they're doing now. Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis, what's his name, Khalif Raymond. Like, all these guys were great here, and now they've pooped the bed. They're gone. So just want to throw all that out there, and I'm going to head to the store and give me some pork rinds and queso.
There you go, Andrew. That last point's really interesting. Yeah. Really, really well stated as well. We'll come back in the fourth hour. We'll talk a little bit about that point about Malik and Tim Kelly, because I definitely think that there is one narrative that this show believes is the case about this coming Titan season, and it's that it's all about the seasons after this coming season. It's Jay Martin Ramon. Fourth hour is next. We got Joel Corry, former agent, works for CBS, looks at salary cap in a lot of different ways. We'll talk to him in about 20 minutes here on The Zone. Hair loss and might have made you hit the brakes in your car because it's something you've been worried about. It's something that's affecting your confidence a little bit as you're walking down the street. Well, there's a fix for it. There's actually treatment. There's stuff that can work. And I'm not talking about the fake stuff, and I'm not talking about the overnight stuff, and I'm not talking about the spray stuff. I'm talking about actual treatments that can rejuvenate cells, that can help you in those balding spots and start to fight back in a real way. It's Pai Medical. WeGrowHair.com is the website. You should visit them today, this morning, if this is weighing on you in any way, and just see what they can do for you. Schedule a consultation. Go in and talk to them. Let them take some photos and then show you, hey, we can do this, and here's what it can do for you. And it's going to take 12 to 15 months. And that, to me, is what made it worthwhile. Surgical procedure, they've got that. But if that's not necessary, they've got the most advanced non-surgical solutions anywhere, and it's affordable. When it comes to cost, they have payment plans that can fit anyone's budget. They just know what they're doing, and they're wonderful people to deal with. They've been in Nashville for over 25 years. All they care about is hair. They're the very best at it. I'm trusting them with mine. You should do the same. 615-376-6010 is the telephone number, 376-6010. Talk to them. Visit them online, WeGrowHair.com. One more time, that's WeGrowHair.com.
9:03, good morning. I'm Jonathan Shea for the Titans and first-round pick Treylon Burks. They've agreed to terms on a multi-year contract. According to reports, a 4-year deal worth over $14 million, fully guaranteed, fifth-year team option. Heat defeated the Celtics yesterday in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final in the NBA. Heat 118, Celtics 107. Jimmy Butler scored 41. Miami outscored Boston 39-14 in the third quarter.
I speak for my teammates and the Miami Heat organization whenever I say I know what I'm capable of. And I don't do this to score 40 points. I play the way that I play to win.
That dude's an assassin. Dallas at Golden State, 8 o'clock tip tonight in Game 1 of the Western Conference Final. NHL playoffs, Lightning 4, Panthers 1. Avs defeated the Blues 3-2 in overtime. Rangers at Hurricanes, 6 o'clock puck drop. Oilers at Flames in the Battle of Alberta, 8:30 for that one tonight. Braves with a 3-0 win over the Brewers yesterday. Marcell Ozuna hit a 2-run homer for Atlanta. The Sounds beat Louisville 4-3. Sounds are now 25-11 on the season. First pitch tonight at First Horizon Park, set for 6:35. Ron Slay throwing out the first pitch. Tennessee beat Belmont 18-0 yesterday. The Baseballs 46-7 for the season. Vandy beat Middle Tennessee at Hawkins Field 7-2. For foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your own for the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth hour, hashtag fastest 4 hours in radio is upon you, upon us. It's going to be here and it's going to be gone. Joel Corry, next segment, CBS. And Inky Johnson to finish up the show. So we had a caller earlier. We never got to this. Tony Gonzalez, I said that he had said this a couple of years ago. There were about 3% of pro athletes that he's encountered at any given time were winning. They're driven to win. Hardcore, like fully dialed in, Tom Brady level, Kobe Bryant level, that kind of thing. So that needs to be mentioned because it sounds slanderous to say that, but there are a lot of guys that do want to win, but there's other factors that matter a lot to them. In this case, it's these dudes want to win at any cost all the time. So there's a difference, I think, between, like, you have to make sure that you understand there. The 3% quote is there's 3% of dudes out there where it's win or bust, like Jimmy Butler kind of thing.
I'm going to be real with you. I ain't siding with Tony Gonzalez on this one.
You might. I don't doubt that.
And I think football's too hard to not want to go out there and win. I've talked to guys on losing teams and just like they're trying their damnedest to go out and win. I just think sometimes the management of the team kind of takes away that drive of wanting to win sometimes, though. I will say that. All sports are hard. Tennis, grueling. Basketball, grueling. Hockey, the money to me was just a bonus. Like, I love the game. And everybody that I was with around loved the game also. I think now with the exposure of what contracts are and, guys getting paid this and the perception of what it actually is takes away from the drive to go win. But the market suggests you get paid this, a certain amount of money. The will to win is always there because that's how you stay in the game too. I ain't saying Gonzalez is wrong as far as the pureness of wanting to go in, breathe it, live it. Kobe's there an hour and a half before everybody. He walks off with a torn Achilles. Brady is retired, come back. Like, to me, there's stories like that about the guys on the bottom half of the roster we just don't talk about. Maybe the guys that Tony talked to were big paid up guys that were on bad teams that chase stats. I don't know. I would love, because I've told you guys that, like, I love the game. And winning is contagious as hell. I ain't saying Tony is wrong for the guys he spoke to because I don't know who they are. But I just don't fully agree with that conversation that only 3% of the guys actually really want to win.
No, I don't think, like I said, not that they don't want to
win.
just that that's the number one factor in their careers, that they want to win as bad as the fans want them to win.
Well, let's say this.
I think maybe that's more.
I don't think this. Well, if that's the case, as far as what Tony's saying, and those 3% of guys are the greats, then. Well,
Yeah.
I honestly do think it's less than 3% of the guys are in the NFL Football Hall of Fame too. So if he think it's 3%, the number of players in the Hall of Fame don't equate to the 3% that want to be great. If we're going off of that, then those are the guys that are great, that are passionate about winning and perfecting their craft. And maybe I'm putting words into his mouth about what was said with the article, but we don't even have 3% of players in the Football Hall of Fame in Canton.
Mm-hmm.
So that just don't line up to me.
Mm-hmm.
I love to know who he talked to.
I don't think it's people talking to. I think it's just
being
his
around.
opinion being around sports in general. That there's a lot of guys are trying to get a paycheck.
I agree with that too. But it's too.
And that the fans care a lot more sometimes than the athletes.
No, I think that sometimes, just me being real, I think sometimes the fans care, or I ain't going to say that. The fans care more. I think you care more about the team and not the individual. I say that time and time again.
Well, to that point, well, not to that point, but to the question, if there were, some guys per team where you feel like they're really in it for that 3%.
Yeah.
They're on that level.
Okay.
I just wrote some guys down with the Titans because that was what the question was asked.
Yeah.
And I think that it sounds disrespectful, but these are just the first guys where I'm just like, that dude really wants it. You can just tell. It looks like he wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guys that I wrote down, you tell me, and we can add to this list. Byard.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Danico to me,
Yeah.
because the way he goes about his business.
Yeah.
Derek.
Yeah.
You hesitated.
Because he's an anomaly at his position. I ain't going to say what he does is easy, but Derek is going to get Derek's regardless. I almost look at his and say they feed him so much that he's got to go. I know he's passionate about playing as hell. He did the same thing at Alabama, too. I wasn't hesitant. It was just Derek is obvious for him to be that way. I just thought about it for a second. He just don't say much, but you see it come out. Those other few guys that you brought up, you see that emotion come out, and Derek's a little emotionless sometimes,
I put Tannehill down because I think he definitely cares.
But what would the fan base say?
I think they'd say the same.
You think they say he care?
Yeah. For sure.
I don't think this fan base will put him in at 3%.
That cares about winning?
Yeah.
I think that's why he's depressed and he's talking about going to therapy and all this other stuff. It just means he may not be good enough, but that doesn't mean he doesn't care.
Right. Okay.
That's my argument.
Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, personally, yes, he cares about it.
Yeah, I'm talking about personally. I'm talking about attitude.
Right. Clear. We're clear now. Okay.
I put Harold in parentheses because Harold was playing for money last year. And before that, it was kind of, he was good, he wasn't good. He was inconsistent, he was doing this. It was not ever really consistent. And then last year, first half of the season, it was one, second half. I want to see him do it now that he's got the bag before I just put him in the same list with some of those other guys.
Instead of fat and happy,
yeah,
however it goes.
Yeah.
Not
that I don't think he will. I'm not trying to slight him. I'm just saying I want to see that now that he's been paid.
Now that you've got the bag. Well, that's the same conversation you have about Jeff, too, then.
That's true, although Jeff was a monster and talking in year 2.
Well, as soon as Jeff get his, then it's, well, what is he going to be after the bag?
That's true. I guess I'm just saying he's been a lot better before the bag.
But you see what I'm saying as far as like breaking down the perception of what guys are according to Tony Gonzalez, that 3%? Like, I know Oladani is not a top of the roster guy as far as his importance, but I know he wants to win.
Tighten up.
That's our guy. Go ahead. My bad, Jay.
Well, no, I mean, that was all the ones I had written down. I was thinking about, like, Taylor.
Yeah.
But Taylor takes games off. And he takes games off where I'm not so sure I buy into the reason those games are being taken off at times.
So,
but I know he cares about winning.
Yeah, for sure. He dropped that, and I'm scrolling through the Titans roster now. I got to throw Ben in there. I got to throw Naquan in there.
I would probably say Bud.
But
he got paid a lot. But Bud.
But see, that's the difference. I know Bud a little bit different than you do because we've been personal with one another. As far as me knowing him, David Long Jr. is another guy. Like, we're already over 3% as it is just with this one team.
But you don't know a lot of those guys, though, either.
But if I looked at David Long play?
Yeah, I know, but it's not necessarily about the play. It's about what's in the mind. It's not about talent.
So what's the motivation behind saying a guy is all in and not? Because at the end of the day, you do appreciate the craft of being able to go chase the next contract. I will say that. That is a beautiful part of the game, too. Because it's supply and demand. If I supply you this type of production, then I think we're going to get a different type of demand as far as my market says.
I don't honestly know that I agree with Gonzalez because I think he was making a statement to say there's a lot of dudes that want to get paid that aren't giving it their all.
I will agree with that.
I think generally he was making a larger statement to say that.
Well, I'll say this then.
Just like there's a whole lot of owners that don't care at all.
I can perceive Carson Wentz and Kirk Cousins just don't care and wanted to get paid. I definitely say what's his name? Carson. I don't no, not him. I definitely say Kirk Cousins. One, he's negotiating on behalf of him. He's in a market where he's just got to be above 500. Does he really want to build a team around himself and be better? You know what I'm saying? But somebody might tell you, no, this dude is one of the most passionate winners you've ever been around.
Joe Corry knows a lot about money and a lot about NFL money in particular. We'll talk to him on the other side. I'm going to ask him, what's the biggest factor? Is it winning? Or is it money for a lot of guys in the league? Just curious to get his thoughts on that and plenty more. It's Jay Martin and Mo 104.5 The Zone.
Spring weather in the South, let me tell you, it's not about to be a little complicated. You're about to know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Listen to me. Humidity, heat, just watching the heat wave on the road, and you got to go home, and next thing you know, your wife or your significant other just tells you, the unit is out, babe. What are you going to do? What should you have done? I'll tell you what you should have done. You should have called Spring Hill Heating and Cooling because they're going to take care of all of your HVAC needs. They have over 20 years of experience serving all of Southern Middle Tennessee. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is a family-owned and operated company that prides itself for outstanding customer service, so you don't get knocked upside the head when you go home because it's hot in your house. They offer cost-effective solutions such as a free service call for repair and free estimates on replacement systems. They back their work with 10-year parts and labor and warranties and they also have 72 months of no interest on new installs. So be ready for this spring or the summer or anything that may come your way by getting the best indoor air quality thanks to Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They have 2 locations to serve you, Columbia and Lyles, and available anytime at springhillac.com. Go talk to the folks I know at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
Are we sure he actually said that?
It's on the verified accounts, and it's got the audio.
Steve Kerr on facing Jason Kidd as a player. Of course, they're matching up Warriors Mavs. He said the biggest thing I remember about Jason was just the overwhelming speed and force. Brilliant player. Jason Kidd facing Steve Kerr. Quote, I remember facing Steve. He had Michael Jordan. Here's the thing, though. Steve would be the first to tell you. I mean, he made one shot in his career people remember.
But you can't crap on
he won some rings, but it's Chicago and San Antonio.
Hey, Jason
He's a
Kidd,
nice role player.
Jason Kidd setting the tone.
When did he – I'm sure he said that with a smile on his face.
No, he didn't.
No, not necessarily.
No, he didn't, Jason. Oh.
You see the video?
Right.
Jason Kidd's got some in him.
Look at that smile. He's got a smile. Yes, he does.
It's a condescending smile.
No, look at the way he's finishing. He knows what he's doing. Don't try to steal. You got Baker Mayfield going to the Bahamas with Deshaun Watson. It's not happening.
I'm telling you, Baker's getting on that plane.
All right.
I'm telling you, man.
Back to your shanties. To the Marks Bank Real Estate Hotline, Joel Corry, former sports agent, CBS Sports. What's going on, Joel?
Yeah, it's a little interesting comment by Jason Kidd. It's accurate, though.
See what I'm saying?
Definitely can't impeach it. No. So I feel like a lot of this conversation is probably going to center on wide receivers. I know you wrote about Cooper Kupp, and we want to talk about that. But what's your initial reaction to the Titans making the move that they made to let A.J. Brown end up with the Eagles and then draft a rookie?
I didn't see that coming. I thought if one of those 2019 second-round picks would get traded, it would be Deebo Samuel, since he made it very clear he wanted out. But this kind of seems like the Tyreek Hill situation, where signability became an issue, and Titans decided let's reset with a cost-effective rookie, as opposed to what would be in their mind overpaying for A.J. Brown. It'll be interesting to see how the Titans' offense works from a passing game standpoint. Obviously, it runs through Derrick Henry, but you have Robert Woods coming off an ACL tear, who before Cooper Kupp exploded was one of the most productive receivers in the NFL, and you have an underrated tight end. In Cleveland, Austin Hooper was just a blocker. In Atlanta, he was a 75-catch, 700 receiving yard guy who played in the Pro Bowl. So maybe Burks doesn't have to jump in right away. If Woods is back to being Robert Woods and you get the Atlanta version of Austin Hooper, you can bring him along a little more slowly. Burks, that is.
Joel, I've been trying to get on my platform and defend Ryan and say Ryan's got to be the guy moving forward. They got him Treylon Burks. They went and got Bobby Trees. They got him Austin Hooper. And the first thing that you say is, well, Ryan Tannehill hands the ball off to Derrick Henry, man. When can that ever change? Like, in this world of wide receivers and passing game, will that change for a guy like Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans this 2022 season?
No, it's not going to change, because your MO is Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's injury, you're going to run that guy on the ground in a way that nobody's ever had usage. I felt sorry for the guy with the type of usage he had. He was going to have to defy serious odds to be effective after 2022 if they kept the pace up. So the injury actually helped him out from a standpoint that he has less mileage. But this is still it's a Derrick Henry-centric offense, and I don't see that changing.
You're killing me, Small.
How many? Yeah, really. How many wide receivers that are next in line that might not be immediately in line are going to be pulling hard for Devontae Adams, for Tyreek Hill in Miami, and for A.J. Brown? Because the teams that decided to move on from them or let them go in one way or another, Green Bay, Kansas City, and Tennessee, those teams have playoff runs in common and playoff appearances in recent years. So, looking at this market, what's the future of the wide receiver market considering what we're seeing?
Well, part of it's going to depend on how this draft class plays. If these guys step in and they're highly productive immediately, then maybe some teams are going to pause and think twice about giving that lucrative contract to receivers like Green Bay, Kansas City, Tennessee, et cetera, have done. But if these guys go back to how it used to be, where receivers took a while to really hit their stride, and you don't have really the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, guys out the box putting up tremendous numbers, then that's going to help the veteran guys. Those two guys are going to get paid regardless, Chase and Jefferson, if what they've done so far is them just scratching the surface. But it's going to remain to be seen for some of the other guys. And then it's going to be, well, this is the third contract that Adams and Hill have gotten. If they don't play well on their second lucrative veteran contract, you're not going to see receivers getting that huge second lucrative veteran contract anytime soon after these guys, depending upon what they do.
So I have a question back, going back to the quarterback. We brought up the Tony Gonzalez 3% conversation. About 3% of guys want to win, like at all costs. At all costs. Being in that world where you gotta discuss contracts, how do you go about getting a guy paid that may not have all the tools that you're looking for? Like we heard AJ had the health issues as far as the knees and whatnot. A guy like Ryan Tannehill, who's pretty much been propped up is what they've been saying as far as his career goes. Kirk Cousins is another guy. How do you go to the table when you have a guy that's less than to get them paid in that fashion?
It's all about timing and leverage. Cousins did something that quarterbacks don't do. He played through 2 franchise tags and hit the open market. He's a good quarterback, not great quarterback. You never see quarterbacks of his caliber hit the open market, so there was going to be demand for him. Tannehill, right time, resurrected his career. Team played well. He played well. So you had 2 guys free, Henry and Tannehill. He had leverage to get the deal that he got. What I wanted to see that didn't happen was Dak Prescott not sign a long-term deal, play on the second franchise tag, and then would have been free this year. If you stuck Dak Prescott potentially in the open market, because the third franchise tag would have been basically $55 million or close to it, what would Dak Prescott have gotten on the open market? That's what I wanted to see. Didn't happen. I don't know what quarterback. Maybe it's Lamar Jackson, since he hasn't been in a rush to get a new contract, and his patience has paid off for him because the market has changed. But I want to see another quarterback hit the open market who's good and see what happens then.
Yeah, I think Lamar doing the 2 franchise might be exactly what he's going to do, which is a risk considering the way that he plays. But at the same time, he could end up breaking the bank. Speaking of breaking the bank, what was your reaction to what the Browns did with Deshaun Watson? The contract being fully guaranteed, and what are the reverberations going to be throughout the league in ownership offices?
I called it a $94 million bribe because he was already under contract for 4 years, $136 million. It had eliminated the Browns from contention. So basically, they started pulling money out of the wallet, and they're like, "Will this get it done? Will this get it done?" It's like, okay, I'll be a Brown now. That's how I looked at it. It's NBA money. Because I didn't anticipate the amount of fully guaranteed money NFL contract more than doubling with the Watson deal. To put it in perspective, the $230 is basically Giannis Antetokounmpo guaranteed money because his 5-year extension with the Bucks is $228 and some change, and Steph Curry's 4-year extension with the Warriors is $215 million fully guaranteed. Other quarterbacks have to capitalize on it. It didn't happen with Cousins when he got his fully guaranteed $84 million contract as a free agent. Nobody followed after that. The guys to watch to me are Kyler Murray. He's wanted a contract in the worst way. He's been very impatient. The Bidwells are a cash-poor team in Arizona. With that escrow requirement, we have to put basically the future guarantees in escrow. I don't really see that one happening. I'd keep an eye on Russell Wilson for a couple of reasons. If you get the Walton family buying that team, Rob Walton, I think that's who it is.
Yeah.
And that's deep pockets. So he wouldn't have the excuse of, I don't have the cash to put in to meet the funding requirements. 2, also Russell Wilson has a baseball agent in Mark Rogers. And baseball players' contracts are fully guaranteed traditionally. So he probably shouldn't have a problem pushing the envelope, trying to follow in Deshaun Watson's footsteps. Then also Lamar Jackson. Biscotti, the Ravens owner, acknowledged this could be a problem. But if none of those guys follow up with a fully guaranteed contract, then it's going to be an anomaly and not a trend.
When it comes down to that, I've kind of said even a few years back when we were doing the CBA negotiations, just saying, look, if guys want guaranteed contracts, that means you got to bet for shorter. Is that a method that's probably going to work better? Let's say instead of doing a 5-year, you do a 3 fully guaranteed. Do you see the anxiety in it? Why, if you've represented guys, they chose not to do that, or you chose not to do those things?
No, that's actually what they should be doing, and that may be one of the consequences, that the owners won't want to put that type of money in escrow to meet the funding requirements, so it becomes a shorter contract. And we've seen that happen in the NBA. It used to be the maximum contract length was 7 years. It used to be fully guaranteed. Now it's 4 or 5 new years, depending upon whether you stay for your old team or new team. And given that the new TV money is going to start hitting the cap as early as next year, you want to get as many bites of the apples as possible. So I wouldn't want to do anything more than 4 new years, preferably 3. And anytime you have contracts where there's no guaranteed money, years where there's no guaranteed money, essentially you've given the team option where they can decide at their leisure whether to keep you or not, and that's not in the best interest of the player. So I'm expecting shorter deals, notwithstanding the Patrick Mahomes 10-year deal, which over time he's going to probably regret, because as the quarterback market continues to change, he's going to be underpaid, and it's going to force the Chiefs to revisit that deal to keep him happy.
Like Tyron and his deal at left tackle.
No, you mean that lifetime contract? Because he should have had another deal by now. But
Yep.
He's basically, that's his one shot at getting paid, because his deal made him the highest paid guy at $12.2 a year. Now you got tackles making $23 million per year. So that's why you don't do a super long deal.
Joel Corry joining us. Tory Dandy, Joel, obviously getting a lot of wide receivers paid during this offseason. What do you think he is doing? Like, how is he accomplishing the goals that he has? I know his goal indeed is to get the most money for all of his guys, but how do you think he is approaching this? What is he doing in the wide receiver market specifically?
Well, actually, I've never seen anything like this where one player, one agent controls the market so much, because Tory Dandy represents, in addition to 3 2019 second-round picks, he did Mike Williams at $20 million per year, then Chris Godwin at $20 million per year, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and Deebo Samuel. He can kind of control the order of how they go, because if he doesn't want to get a deal done, he doesn't have to. Now, with a trade, you don't have a choice if the team is insisting on getting a deal done. So that deal may have gotten done, changed the pecking order. I expect DK Metcalf to be next, then Deebo. And it'll be interesting to see if Deebo now is happy staying in San Francisco when he wanted out. But regardless who represented Metcalf and Brown, whichever one of those two went first, I thought that would be the deal, which would be the benchmark for the other one, since they were teammates at Ole Miss and have both been productive since they got in the NFL. But ultimately, Deebo should get more because of the versatility in his role, where he's also a very good running back. So to me, that's added value. And that's the uniqueness Deebo has. I don't know if it's not great for his career longevity, because you don't want to take the type of punishment as a running back, and you'd rather just be a wide receiver, but that's why he should get paid more than the other guys.
So with that being said, as far as the payment goes of those guys and just anybody, when you're negotiating, does the medicals come up as far as the numbers go? Do they matter when you go into the table? Because it seems to me that Philly was just of the mindset, screw it, we just want the items. Screw whatever else comes with it.
Yeah, well, Philadelphia, part of their problem was they missed on Jalen Reagor, so I think that played into them going out and getting a veteran, didn't want to draft another receiver, which they could have done if they'd stayed put. But, yeah, durability concerns come into play, and if you're the agent, you try to minimize them. I would have wanted per-game roster bonuses, which some teams make a focus of contracts, others don't, particularly for a guy that can't play every game every year. And by that I mean there's a certain amount of money that you make if you're active for that particular game. Some teams make that, like the 49ers. You can't do a deal which doesn't have per-game roster bonuses. Kansas City's been a team, Green Bay for the most part, which have those in contracts. But that's a way where the team can get some cap relief and also a little bit of a cash break if the player isn't healthy.
No, that's interesting. What do you think, based on production, age, all those things, what do you think Jeff's going to get here in Nashville? What do you think Big Jeff, meaning Jeffrey Simmons, is likely to command? Like, what number makes sense to you?
Well, he's now eligible for a contract extension, but typically you don't see a ton of guys after 3 years who are first-round picks get a deal. Usually it's going into the fifth-year option. I might want to do him sooner rather than later because the interior defensive lineman market is probably going to change before the regular season starts. Right now, and it's been this way since 2018, Aaron Donald's been the highest-paid guy, $22.5 million per year. He's now underpaid. I think his retirement talk is directly related to him not being happy with his money. It may have a 3 in front of it when it's ultimately done. The Rams say they're going to take care of him, and a rising tide lifts all boats. Nobody's getting past 22.5 while Aaron Donald's still at 22.5. I expect Simmons, regardless, to hit the $20 million per year club. But if this thing stretches out where it's Donald at 30, then everyone else is at 21. That's only going to benefit Jeffrey Simmons, who represents himself, which creates a different dynamic altogether in this whole equation.
What's harder to replace, Jeff Simmons and his production at that position, or A.J. Brown and his production at that position?
Well, it typically has been easier to find receivers historically. You've got a guy who has some pass rush ability and also can play the run. Pass rushing interior defensive linemen are kind of a premium, and what he did against the Bengals, after that game, I was like, pay him as soon as possible.
Also, you speaking of Aaron Donald, and I know Debo brought this up as far as not wanting to be there, and I think it's because of the money. Do you give them extra because they're in California and the taxes that go along with it, or you ask for more?
That really comes up in a free agency situation.
Okay.
We did that a long time ago when John Randall was a transition player with the Vikings, because Miami was the other team which had the most interest. So we had his accountant run numbers for what would be the net amount to stay in Minnesota versus Florida, which has no state income tax, and adjusted the gross amounts in the offers accordingly. It comes up more in that situation. I know Ndamukong Suh did the same thing when he was using the Raiders back when they were terrible as leverage to go to Miami. But you don't really see the net amounts come into play when you're talking about an extension with your own team.
Okay.
Great stuff, Joel. Really excellent insight. We always appreciate the time, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sure, anytime. Thanks for having me.
That's the best he's ever been with us.
Yeah,
he was terrific today. He's been good all the time, but this is the best he's ever been with us. Said some really interesting stuff, and I agree. Pay Jeff as soon as you think you can.
I mean, players have gotten that deal done early. Patrick got done early.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's rare, but when you got that type of guy, pay now to save later.
We got that type of guy on the other side. Inky Johnson, some midweek motivation for you to finish us up. That's next. Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
I choose violence.
As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, the pros at ServPro are prepared for anything, like when a relief valve on your water heater fails, pouring gallons of water into your finished basement. ServPro is prepared for it. When an electrical shortage in your office causes extensive smoke and water damage, ServPro is prepared for it also. Or that musty odor indicates you might have a mold problem. ServPro is prepared for that. You need a lot more than help sometimes cleaning up, and that's why ServPro is your one-stop shop when disaster strikes. Not only do they have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services ranging from drywall patching and document drawing all the way to complete structure rebuilds. There's just one call you need to make to bring your home or business back as good as new and as soon as possible. So if you're in need of cleanup from fire, water, or any unpleasant event, ServPro is always ready to help. Call ServPro and the official downtown Nashville operators at 800 ServPro to see how we can help you get back to like it never even happened. The number is 800 SERVPRO. ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Welcome back, Jay Martin, Ramon 104.5 His Zone. Good day to podcast today. Felt good about the effort today. Enjoyed the show.
Me too, man.
4 hours rolled right on by. Tannehill was talked about, so
not in a bad way either. There's that voice. There's that sound.
Nope, not a voice, right?
There's that sound.
Post-draft NFL power rankings. They're discussing this on TV right now for ESPN. I agree with all of them except for the fact that Dallas is number 8.
As far as what?
That's because Dallas is Dallas. ESPN post-draft NFL power rankings. Bills, the ESPN's doing it now. Bills, Rams, Bucks, Chiefs, Packers, Bengals, Chargers. Okay. I still need to see what Green Bay and Kansas City are looking like without their studs, but I'm still got them there. Cowboys 8? I can't ride with that. They've gotten worse, I think.
If I say I'm not in on Cincinnati, then people are going to say I'm a hater. So I'll just say I'll reserve judgment until the season's over.
I'm in for them being in the power rankings. We talked about this off air yesterday. Maybe we can get into it more tomorrow. I think they are a better team than they were last year. I do not think they will be as successful as they were last year.
Give them that.
Because the schedule is tough. Burrow said, we know now how to win. We know what's expected and how to do this. He said that in a quote yesterday. I believe he believes that. I believe they believe that. I just believe the schedule is going to get them.
Yeah, that ain't a bad thought. He's supposed to feel that
I
way.
think they'll probably be 10-7.
10-7?
Somewhere in there. I'd need to.
fair.
We'll get closer and be able to talk about it then. But yeah, it's a possibility. Jimmy Butler, man.
Yeah,
he's definitely in the 3% or the ones that want to win. After last night's game, he says, "I like physicality. I want to run into people and see who falls down and who's going to quit first." I think that's the style I like to play, and so do they. I was 0 for 2 from 3 tonight. I want to go 0 for 0 next game because I just want to keep banging into people. He's telling you, I'm coming.
I told you he's a bully. He made.
That's what he does.
They need Marcus Smart. As far as the enforcer, everybody has that one guy you need in these type of moments, and he ain't out there for it. Well, he wasn't out there last night.
Jimmy Butler is the dude that could have played with the '80s Pistons.
He could have played football. We talking about Nate Robinson? Give me Jimmy Butler as my wide receiver one.
He's fun to watch. He would be annoying to play against.
That man's carrying around his own espresso machine. Come on.
It's not a bad one either.
This is a nice one. That was like $6,000, $8,000.
Someday we'll cross paths.
You gonna steal it from Jimmy?
Jimmy, it'll be J&J's Coffee.
J&J Coffee. Hey, speak it into existence, man.
No, I already said. What was I said? Flavor Country.
Flavor Country.
That one day, and you're like, that's what
the
it
name.
needs to be.
That's the name right there.
Tonight, Warriors, Mavs.
Ron Slade throwing out the first pitch.
Ron Slade at Sounds game. Sounds were number 1 in ESPN's top 10 last night.
Were they really?
Yeah, dive and catch.
Oh, that catch was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase that.
So
Ron's
that was top 10.
Yeah.
Slade's first pitch can be the not top 10 that they always do on Fridays.
What's it? I can't wait to tag ESPN. I believe in them, but I can't wait to tag ESPN.
I believe in them. I set the standard. I got it over the plate with a strike. You were a little bit high, I think.
Yeah, I was a little high.
I'm high.
Yeah.
I was testing it. That's all.
I just hope Slade has practiced a little bit.
I think he's practiced too much.
Oh, well, if he's overdone it, I did it day of. I was just a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't practice in it. That's why I was off the mound. And I know they're going to make a big fuss about it. But
you were off the mound?
It's
You
over
didn't do
and
it from the
done
mound?
with. Nah, I didn't do it from the
That's
mound.
right. I remember seeing that video. I just
that.
want to make sure we pointed it out again.
Aren't you going to be better today?
I choose violence.
Hey, man, you set up Inky by doing that.
You do.
Inky sent us a recording this morning. This is a way to get you set for the rest of your hump day. Buck Rising coming up next. We'll do it tomorrow. Coach Mack will join us. We'll recap game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. You know how we do.
Let's roll.
Here's Ink.
I tell my son all the time, I'm like, Ink, it's a big difference between a hard worker and somebody that works hard, right? Most cats are somebody that works hard. If the situation and the circumstance is what they want it to be, they're going to come out and they're going to act accordingly and they're going to give you everything they got. But a hard worker, regardless of situation, regardless of circumstance, regardless of what happened, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give everything I got to it because I'm working for something that's totally different, right? The question becomes this. Can you be committed to the process of what you're doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what you're doing? Can you be committed to the process of what you're doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what you're doing? In other words, if you don't get what you thought you was going to get, will you still be the same individual? If the situation don't turn out the way you thought it would turn out, will you still be the same individual? The quote says it. You judge the character of a man not by where he stands in times of comfort and convenience. You judge the character of a man by where he stands in times of challenge